2 days in a row back to the upside here for futures to start things off this morning. Will it be another fade as we saw yesterday all day long? Not only indexes were back to the downside, but individual names sold off pretty heavily. We'll touch on a few coming up here this morning, but more signs, or more talk at least, from the Trump administration of the potential of a peace plan coming up here in the foreseeable future. We'll see what actually transpires today. We'll see what actually transpires coming up over the next couple of days. Lots of individual movers to contend with here this morning as well. Oil chopping around. Some of the energy names, though, individually back to the upside. More contention over the Strait of Hormuz. Once again, will it be reopened? Won't it be reopened? Doesn't seem like many people have a very good feel over that. This one coming up tonight. Nike higher here in the pre-markets. Again, earnings after the close tonight. Had a good start to the day yesterday, faded out pretty quickly as we got into the actual session yesterday. But these memory names were absolutely crushed yesterday. Micron, just barely a green candle. It was just straight southbound all day long. SNDK, another one, straight southbound all day long after gapping higher in the pre-market. There was no looking back after that. That was really the context of tech in general yesterday, and then the overall market tended to follow suit. So we're trying to bounce here for some of these this morning. Again, demand issues, debt issues, spending issues, the narrative around this group and continuing throughout potentially today once again. So a lot to contend with here. We do have a little bit of economic data coming up again later in the week, specifically with non-farm payrolls Friday. Remember, markets closed Friday for Good Friday holiday, but we're going to get some data anyways, which is very strange, but it's not the first time I've seen that. Ms. Adair beside me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I remember I said to you last week as well, it was like, it's odd because this calendar is showing that we do have this data, but I guess we do have, in fact, have this data. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, this Micron chart is a little wild. Literally less than 2 weeks ago, we were at all-time highs at 476, and now we are at 320. Yeah. So bit of a rough look there for the Micron crew, and this is a 180-minute chart. There's a 3-hour chart. USO, though, is going to be interesting because you were mentioning that contention over the Strait of Hormuz. Now it seems like the issue is whether or not getting it reopened is even a priority of President Trump's, because that's the latest report we got from the Wall Street Journal, where it basically he's willing to end the conflict, even if that strait is not closed. Now, we know yesterday during that White House press briefing with Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, a lot of people were asking, are you guys going to adhere to that 4 to 6 week time limit? That might matter more for him now than the reopening of the strait.
The narrative changes almost on a daily basis here, and we're getting to a point where even if I think more and more people kind of looking down the road a little bit here, and even if we do get that open, and I get it, there's a ton of ships sitting there waiting to, make that pass and get oil flowing again through that pass. Infrastructure is going to take 3 to 5 years, is what I was reading, to get back online and back to where it was prior to this. So how long this will actually take to get resolved and get prices back to potentially where they used to be remains to be seen. But anyway, tech stocks looking a little bit better across the board here this morning. That has the Qs back above not only some key levels from yesterday, but some key levels from Friday. The SPY as well, back to the upside right now, even back towards that initial high. I mean, we made a high, guys, right out of the gate yesterday off the open, and then it was just straight southbound all day long. So setting up very similar here this morning. Whether or not it'll follow through remains to be seen. Sean off this morning. He's back this afternoon with us. Obi-ing. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. It does remain to be seen whether we hold on to the gains. We saw that yesterday. Like, basically everything was a pop and drop. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, Marvell, probably a lot of people, well, I don't know, maybe some people have seen it, maybe some people have not, just spiked only a couple of minutes ago, up about 10% right now, kind of teetering back and forth here, 95 to 98, now 11%. NVIDIA AI ecosystem expands as Marvell joins forces through NVLink fusion. So NVIDIA is also investing $2 billion into Marvell in addition to this headline. So Marvell moving on it. It's obviously, this is a bigger deal for Marvell than it's going to end up being for NVIDIA, which NVIDIA gapping like everything else, more or less this morning, is up about 1.5 points here. So good. It's not a bad start for NVIDIA. The market's 1%. This is just, like I said, 1.5. The thing that gets me don't want to say, pessimistic's the wrong word, but if you do remember, like yesterday, USO and oil was most of the pre-market heading back down and then made a low at 9 o'clock, and then we just straight trended up all day long. So until this confirms downtrend at the open, or at least closer to the open, it's hard to feel like it's anything unlike what we saw in yesterday's trade, which was you're gapped up in Bitcoin, who cares, pop and fade. You're gapped up in tech stocks, who cares, gap and fade. And that was the story in yesterday's trade. I'm not sure that it will be that simple because, again, we have to sort of look at what's going on with oil. This had already turned at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you were trending back to the upside and holding VWAP. We'll see if we get that kind of a clean look here today. Obi, ooh, you got a cookie over there on your desk?
Yeah, I think it's like a granola or something. I saw the cookie and I was like, yeah, they do their cookies quite well. So yeah, picked one up as well. Got a mint tea going this morning. I was just talking to Mike D. Ryder. Yeah, I think there is something going around. He said Fabian might be feeling a little under the weather as well, or he was maybe. I don't know. But
he was definitely feeling under the weather yesterday. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
Today.
And I don't know if you've been able to tell. I haven't been trading too much as of late. Funny enough, a lot of my trading is coming from the overnight session. I'm staying up till like 2, sometimes 3 a.m. And then I'm like, okay, wake up in the morning. Obviously, I'm not going to be making good decisions at 9:30. Might as well get that rest and take a look at the market in the afternoon. But sometimes when you do that, you may or may not miss things like Micron, which was absolutely crazy yesterday. Yeah, I saw this by the end of the day. Marked out some levels today. It's okay. Doesn't matter if I wasn't there yesterday. Absolute banger trade. So hopefully you guys caught a piece of this sell-off. And we've been talking about this one. Like I even mentioned it, I guess, a few months ago. When the backside comes in, I definitely want to be involved and take a close look at it. And it does seem like very backside-like price action. What's going on?
Well,
Randy?
Randy's going to make an effort to come in the morning.
RAM prices are going down,
Randy. Make sure that we get our morning potassium.
Yes.
This is very, very key.
So this is what I've been waiting for. Like I've been waiting to kind of buy some SSDs and maybe a little bit of RAM as well. And I'm like, all right, cool. Micron is going to start to cool off here. That might be some precedent to some lower prices on some of that tech as well. 350 back through this week. So yeah, it should be nice. And I was telling you earlier, like this is the first time we've gotten that bit of a pop and fail through some like expanding volume, higher volume signatures right there, a false break of that 450, and post earnings as well. We've only been selling off post earnings, so I am asking the question, is this it for Micron if we do pull back? Oh boy, I'm not really seeing anything too much. Like, look, this is somewhat of a structure all the way down here at 250, so maybe we go there. I have no idea, but I'll be watching this one as well. SNDK, let's see how that one did. Not as aggressive of a sell-off versus yesterday, so we'll have to keep an eye out on this one as well. Yeah, this is a daily chart right there, so nothing too crazy. I am going to be watching, I guess now Marvell, MRVL, that's doing some, you said it's NVIDIA related news?
Yep.
There on Marvell. Let's see how this one's
partnership doing. And then $2 billion investment.
Okay,
specifically
right away.
NVIDIA.
I'm seeing this $100 level right away. That's that prior week high. It's just making a beeline for that. Currently trading at, I guess it's not showing me price, 98s. Currently trading at on MRVL. And of course, USO on watch with a lot of taco talk happening as well. I mean, initially I was just like, okay, cool. We're gonna wait for the news and then take the trade maybe. But now you can tell the market's kind of just, it's getting used to boy calling wolf. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
Cry wolf.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, now I'm just waiting for the moves to happen and then taking a look at if I can either get with it or fade that push on anything like a Micron or, sorry, not Micron, a USO, or even the markets as well, anything market related.
The only thing I'd say is a little bit different. Like, we're a little stronger this morning than we were yesterday. This is still Marvell. And then you throw in the fact there's like we're getting to the end of the month, and obviously like some things have been really badly beaten up in the last little month here. And I look at yesterday when we were trending pretty much, like I said, we're trending upside here, and the USO was trending down. This would be the Qs. And we were really holding the line so that when we failed the open on pretty much everything, like it's so weird how like that's exactly what the IBIT chart looks like, and Qs look exactly the same. The SPY is going to look exactly the same. Like we're actually breaking this resistance level. That said, you know, you go back and you zoom it out to a higher time frame, and okay, so we're breaking this little consolidation here. How good do you feel if we don't get over like 568? Actually, well, this is more interesting when you look at it on the SPY. When I was looking at it on the SPY, because it's just a little bit cleaner. Like look at this about 640 to 640 and a half level on the SPY. Like if you can't really punch through this, like what good is any kind of a bounce? It's just going right into overhead resistance, which we talked about. And if you have breakouts in overhead resistance, sometimes they can be very trap-ish. Another thing I'm going to go throw back to the desk in a quick little second. SLV, silver's trying not to have its worst month in like decades, and the bounce right now might stave it away from that. But this is one, there's at least something here. Like if it can hold above 66.5, there's a bit of a gap fill with room to 68.70. But it just like everything else, it's gapping into the resistance first. It's so eerily, it's similar to yesterday, even if it's a little bit stronger, but the similarities are kind of eerie in that you are into those overhead levels. But because it works so well, it's pretty simple with these breakouts. Like if you close the 15-minute above here and it's not a topping tail candle, well then suddenly that is a breakout long. But if it does if the first candle is a topping tail candle, that's short. You know, just like it was on Bitcoin, just like it was in the market yesterday. So can't lean too far away from that. We'll always have our ear to the ground. We do have some economic data this morning. It was pretty quiet. Yesterday we get JOLTS, and then we get Chicago PMI, and then we get JOLTS in the wrong order there. And I believe, Case-Shiller as well. So just a few economic data points to come after 9 o'clock. But Dara will have all of those as usual for us. So we're locked and loaded. We're ready to go. And it should be, well, I can't promise that the market's gonna hold up, but it should be fun anyways.
We'll see.
We're just reading some of these quotes here. Warren Buffett is live on CNBC right now because he has nothing better to do, I guess, at 8 o'clock in the morning. But he's talking about Apple, saying that Berkshire sold Apple too soon, or started to, I guess, sell Apple too soon. And that Apple was shockingly the best company that Berkshire has ever owned, which I think he has said many, many times in the past. But I looked it up really quick. It was Q1 2024. That was the first big share sale that they made after starting the investment back in 2016. So he held the majority of the position from 2016 to Q1 2024, and then made a few other ones up to, I think, the end of last year, really. They were still selling into Q4. But yeah, interesting. It's the first time I've seen him do an interview in a long, long time.
Same. And it's funny, too, because I knew the Apple selling started when I was still here, because I remembered when that kind of began. But, you know, not all positions have been, unfortunately, winners. I mean, Ulta Beauty really strong now, but I remember Warren Buffett getting involved in this one in Q3, or I guess tail end of Q3, early Q2 there, 2024. They got out of the next quarter. I know also UNH has not been necessarily a winner. So it's been, and you can't, of course, put all of that on Buffett, incredible investor. But interesting to note, there's always going to be some losers, too, in anybody's portfolio. So, yeah, just a quick little Buffett roundup there. But, yeah, crazy. I was not expecting to see quotes from him or see his physical presence on CNBC this morning. And
8 o'clock in the morning.
He goes to the office every single day. I was telling him this off camera. So, yeah, great for Warren Buffett. Shout out to Warren Buffett. And he and Charlie Munger, this crazy work ethic that you have to respect.
I mean, like you were saying, when you do the same thing every single day for, I don't know, 60 plus years, you got to think there's probably, it's kind of sad, really. There's not much else in the guy's life, I guess, when you finally retire. But anyway, if you zoom out here, Q1 2024, Apple was attempting to get through 200 for the first time. And it failed 3 times, I guess, going into the end of 2023, and then a couple of times to start 2024. Couldn't get through $200. Here we are. The high, I guess, was nearly $90 higher than that. So that was the first. Again, he was selling right, I believe it was Q4 2025 he was still selling. So he sold to all through 2024 into 2025 as well. But I mean, amazing trade. Zoom out even further, see where it was back in 2016, guys.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, the guy's obviously a legend. I would sort of keep it a little bit simple when it comes to the long term. We said this yesterday. It's very difficult to beat the overall market. I'm not saying people don't do it, but when you read some of the papers on it, like chasing that golden goose of outperforming the overall market is a difficult thing. That's why I like the whole base of portfolio is from a foundation of the SPY, and then all like individual stocks are like sauce added on the end. But like the foundation of my retirement account is the overall market, not expecting to necessarily beat it. Like that's the way I want to play it. If you're just looking at Apple today, I don't know how, we're going to probably say this a lot, and I mentioned this a lot yesterday, the 200-period moving average, and a lot of stocks are, kind of getting to that point. Apple has this good, well, it's holding the 200 barely. I mean, it's like technically holding it, but barely. But it has this good deal going on when the market's been down some days, where it's showing you like some relative strength versus the AI trade. But then unfortunately, that's sort of made it more muted on some of our up days. So I wouldn't wonder, like if we do turn around, and by the way, just because this is what's happening, and we're like, yeah, don't get all excited about the market until we actually see USO continue its downtrend. We've already gotten an initial bump in USO, like it's right back to VWAP and starting to go higher. So with that, you're already seeing the market wick that top and pull back in. But if we do somehow get oil down, we'll see how this Pentagon briefing ends up here. Yeah. But right now, it's actually spiking prices a bit. I think this is not the name that I would want to the long side if we end up with that big of a day. Like AMD seems, like AMD holding the 200-period moving average, just gets a bit more juice on some days. And then one that you mentioned, Obi.
Yes.
I didn't love the catalyst here. Like
no, it wasn't crazy.
Yeah, you'll see Amazon with like this Delta catalyst for Wi-Fi, but it's got, like this is gapped up, and we're talking about overhead resistance. This is above that overhead resistance on Amazon. So yesterday's highs have been not blown out, but been broken, and you've got a clean gap fill from that big Friday flush. So there's at least here, there's something for it to travel into. And for now, knock on some wood, I'm not feeling that optimistic about the market after what we just saw in oil and that topping tail on the Qs. But at least this name, if we can reverse and hold gains, then you've got something which is above resistance, not struggling to break it, which I think is a bit of a theme.
You know, I like that look on Apple. I would kind of, full disclosure, this is my largest position in the portfolio, and yeah, absolutely solid, kind of holding well even throughout a lot of the AI boom, if you want to call it that. We were all just like, okay, it's not running with the NVIDIAs and some of the other names that were kind of leading some of that drive. But again, it's not sold off as much either, right? It's kind of very healthy, periodic kind of, ups and downs, very ebbs and flows is what I'm trying to say here. In terms of its trend, I do like it very much here. I guess this low was a little bit concerning right here back in April, but again, we got that presidential bid that popped in, and then we've been trending up since then. But yeah, a little bit of pullback with the rest of the market. I am watching it. It's interesting that a little bit of reinforcement with Buffett saying it was one of the best positions they've ever held. So yeah, no, solid. You gotta figure out what some of the best players are doing, and maybe really think about why they're in what they're in there at the same time. But yeah, no, I like Apple. I'm listening to the press briefing as well. So I think we had a user in the chat saying that, yeah, Pentagon press briefing is happening. Thank you, IKL, for the super chat there. But yeah, just listening in. Nothing really market moving, which is probably what I'm more concerned about. It's just like, is what is being said actually having an effect on anything right now that I can exercise off of? Other than that, it's just information that is not really of a larger interest to me right now.
But what I know is of interest to everybody is right around this time, not always exactly at this time, we try to get over some options information with our good friend Joey Options.
Yes.
Pretty close, Neil. We try to stick with some consistency around here. But yeah, around 8:20, guys, every morning we're going to be talking a little bit about options. All right, guys, let's take a look at what we got going on from some of the activity in the derivative world. Now, as for SPY, guys, I was going through a list of names, and I was like, you know what? I think it's just best that we talk about the overall market here. So we're going to take a look at the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ momentarily. But first things first, we're going to start off with the strike price. And you're really good, Joe. Why are we talking about this $670 mark? We're 30 points away from that. We're not even close. We weren't there since earlier in the month. Well, I think it's just important to note and realize and recognize where the activity is actually laying. Now, this is said and done essentially. At that 670 mark, open interest sitting around 44,800. That's pretty substantial, and that was the highest on this week's expiration cycle. And I also went through multiple weeks and months as well, too, to see if there's any outlying activity. That wasn't the case. So for this week, these are going to expire out of the money. We know that. We're not going to climb 30 points higher. Anything can happen, but the probability and what our delta metric is telling us that there's a very slim chance that this is going to happen. All right, now as for the volume, 16,900 right there at that specific zone, and then also the daily volume sitting around 13,200 contracts, open and closed on the SPY throughout its strike prices on the day. Now, $2 spread there, guys, and then our delta sitting on that 007. So there's a 99% chance that this is going to expire worthless. And then our gamma exposure, relatively cool because we are so far out of the money, but a slight uptick in the implied volatility. We can typically see this sitting around 24 and in the lower 20s, but a slight uptick in implied volatility. Moving forward, let's take a look at the Qs here, guys. We're going to go over some put action as well. Open interest relatively light, and then volume around 15,800. Now, at that 565 strike price, once again expiring this Thursday, daily volume, so there's about 7,490,000 contracts open and closed at that throughout the whole contract, yesterday. Now, bid and ask, relatively wide for the NASDAQ, right? We're sitting at $3. I want to move forward and pull up the chart here on the NASDAQ as we talk a little bit more about the delta metric. And 65 was roughly at the money, a couple strikes away. So you're going to see that increase in delta and then the gamma exposure as well, too, at the money IV. So your implied volatility or your Vega sitting around 30.9%. But again, just a very, very low probability that these are going to expire in the money. We're sitting at a 34% chance. So there's a bearish sentiment going on. Now, with that being said, it's like, okay, we've been sliding. We broke through some key support levels. So where's this next zone where we can find a potential bounce? And if you see from a couple days ago's session here, and I think it's important to pull this up, is that our low was right around $555, okay? So that's going to lead us to our next contract at $555, but on the put side, and what we can look at this as is the exact same thing when we see a substantial amount of open interest on the call side, is that there is a resistance zone, okay? There's a call wall, but also it works for puts as well. Open interest around 19,100, okay? So this could be a potential bounce because we've already seen the NASDAQ bounce off of 555. Now, considering expensive, right? $5 and $5.15 respectively on the bid and the ask, and with a put to call ratio of 0.84, this might be an area where we can find some support. Gamma exposure, relatively cool, and your at the money IV is going to be the same as your call option.
Well, seeing as you're talking with the Qs and the SPY there, and there's a lot of chatter whether the bottom is in or not, how about we do this? Well, this is kind of an easy one. It's a little bit low-hanging fruit. Well, let's just warm things up a little bit here. So by now, everyone that's been tuning in, you kind of know the drill. But if you don't know the drill, then we're going to set up a poll, and you got to be in the chat to participate. So first things first, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. It's a subs-only chat. Get into the chat. I'll give you a couple of seconds as I'm talking right now. And then the question is, will the SPY hold these early gains? Type 1, yes, the bottom is in. Type 2, no, we have more selling to come. So we'll leave this one up. We'll get an idea I don't know, maybe at like 9 or maybe closer to the open. I don't want it too close to the open, then I'll forget to close it. And then we'll check to see what everyone is thinking. You'll see all the things pop in. Early indications are 77% say no. Well, 70% or at least have been saying no more selling is due. And you know what? I can't disagree with the whole guilty until proven innocent vibe. Yeah, sure, we're gapped up, but we're gapped up yesterday. Like it was an everything gap up and fail. Bitcoin gap up, sorry, Qs gap up, and then end up from those highs about 2% down. Bitcoin was gapped up significantly from Friday's levels and all the way about 2.5% from top to bottom. So you had these heavy retracements in just about everything. You look over, and we already showed you guys what was going in USO as well. But if you looked at gold yesterday, gold was gapped up, GLD was gapped up, and then trended down the entirety of the day. What I would point out, and I just showed you guys the Qs, gold here, which silver is kind of similar to gold, and then I showed you IBIT. I did that on purpose to just point out the little minute fact that look at what is not participating in this move very much. The ES and the NASDAQ are 1% up. You saw the Qs are close to where we were yesterday. IBIT, Bitcoin, not so much. It's still at 66.6. That's kind of an ominous number, obviously. And if you look at where we flushed right through an even dollar on IBIT at 38, Bitcoin is relatively weak. Is that just because Bitcoin it's been a dog longer than the market made a top, let's be real. That could be part of it. Maybe there's more concern that Google came out and said, y'all have till 2029 and the quantum's coming for your butt, more or less. They just published this morning basically saying
I saw that
exactly
this morning,
that, and that essentially it's taking less compute to crack, and it is what it is. So whether you fear that or not, for whatever reason, Bitcoin is relatively weak. So in my mind, if it was a pop and fade yesterday, this definitely stays a short. Like it's the first place I will look because it's also got the relative weakness going with it.
Yeah, no, I saw this the post this morning. I think Elon had retweeted something about Grok analyzing some of that information, giving us a timeline as to when things can start to be a little bit get a little cracked there. And he's making a joke of like, at least if you lost your wallet key, then there will be access to it in the future. I thought that was pretty funny as well. Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure Bitcoin will go through certain contingencies to kind of make up for that quantum computing. We are on the way there. And yeah, very interesting article. I didn't really understand half of what was being said, but I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. We're kind of making leaps and bounds a little bit faster than I really thought. But it was saying like even by Google's standards, with the way they're going, 2028, 2029, exactly like you said, is where we should be expecting some sort of developments there. But yeah, exactly. So Fred Red's in the chat saying, won't encryption become quantum? That's exactly what I mean.
Exactly
that will like Bitcoin will have to kind of transition in towards that. But yeah, there will obviously be fear. And today, if they release that news today, I'll be watching for if that fear is going to be instilled within the price action. We'll wait and see. But yeah, IBIT's a great vehicle to kind of keep an eye on that as well. And I do like the idea of the pop and drops on the market. We're in a downtrend. We're in a little bit of a, if you want to call it bear market. But yeah, pop and drops are the nature of the game when you're trending lower, right? You're looking for those lower highs. And sometimes overnight, through the overnight session, you'll see that, the pops are the place to be to get involved as well.
And as mentioned, Ike Hill, I think we addressed, and thank you for the super chat. I think we did address, yes, HegSef right now is live, and there hasn't been, like we've got some yo-yo action in the market, but there hasn't been anything groundbreaking yet. You can basically see we're bouncing, we're just bouncing in the same range on the Qs over here, and then I can show you, obviously, like USO was bouncing the same range. So about 128 on USO to 129.5. We've now traveled it back and forth. I think a jaunt out of this range would tell us a little bit of something. I just saw another comment up there. Did I miss something? I don't know if that was another super chat that just popped up, but if it is, thank you to JKL. And of course, we'll just leave it at that. Appreciate the super chat. Beach Report. Katy Perry and silver. So if you're, see, the
What is that?
like JKL, not everybody is gonna have watched every single day and get it. You've been playing silver and chilling at the beach because you have been, although I don't think we always know which direction you are in SLV, let's be honest. So I don't know if you saw Katy Perry at the beach or whatever it might be, you let me know. But I have silver on my mind today. Yeah, I'll take one, Randy, thank you. Look, I have silver on my mind today, but it's, like I said, it's guilty till proven innocent. Okay, you've made a pretty hefty bottom here. Like, there's no question asked. Like, if you look at SLV and where the support has been just above 60, outside of one gap underneath, you've been bounced there, hold over, bounce in front, hold, bounce, and now we're gapping higher. And all you have to do is sort of look at the top end of this range, but it's not broken yet. Like, we need to confirm the break of this high, 66.5. I threw that on the note. Like, you've got to, until we've proved that we can do more than just bounce off of lows and take out some of that resistance, you have to respect the resistance that's there. But yeah, it looks like a wipeout bottom to me. It looks like a good hold. It's trying to break out this trend line here on SLV. Of course, you're going to watch gold as well and be wary of the fact that, you know, they're doing very similar things, and you'd like to see this breakout as well. It's very, very similar here at about 421, 421.5 or so on GLD. So yeah, SLV's on my mind today. It just hasn't quite punched through just yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen. It looks like it's very close. Today we don't have any data at 8:30. I think the first number was coming at 9 o'clock there. But anything, I don't know if you guys have been listening to this Hegseth, but nothing too crazy just yet. There have been some slight up and down yo-yo moves in the futures during Hegseth's briefing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some comments coming through, but as you said, nothing significant enough to actually move the market at this point. We'll let you know if it does. Just to recap, we didn't do this yet this morning, but as for the data side of things, as Neil was mentioning, not a heck of a lot until 9 o'clock. We get some housing data. 9:45, Chicago PMI can move the market. Jolts at 10. The Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index for March coming up at 10 o'clock as well this morning. The Dallas Fed then at 10:30. So that's about it. Again, the biggest day is going to be Friday, and guess what? We're not going to be here, so who cares? No, I mean, we'll obviously talk about it on Monday. The market will have a chance then to react to it on Monday as well. The non-farm payrolls, that is coming up on Friday. In the world we are currently living in with the inflation story, still what it is, definitely going to be closely watched by the overall market. I was just noticing here, Nike, 52-week lows yesterday.
Yikes.
Reports earnings today.
Yep.
Gapping to the upside here a little bit. I mean, more than anything, I mean, this is a very beloved company by a lot of people, but more than anything, I think it's a bit of an economic bellwether in the sense that we get a look at the state of the retail side of things and the state of the consumer through Nike. It's also not a deep dive, but a view into the China market once again, and the China relationship once again in this earnings report. So yeah, zoom out a little bit on Nike stock. Doesn't look good going into this report.
And I was saying as well yesterday, I was making the point that obviously it's not a direct comparison, but if you think about three companies that had massive CEO changes roughly around the same time within the 2 months or so, you had Kelly Ortberg over at Boeing, you had then Brian Niccol over at Starbucks, and then third in the succession here, Elliott Hill at Nike. Now, if you think of the other two companies, there has been some kind of turnaround in terms of the company's image and or their stock performance. You cannot say that for Nike.
No.
So that's a bit of a bad look for Elliott Hill. And I know people were saying, oh, he's been beloved at the company. That's all well and good. But it does not seem like investors are super buying this turnaround plan. And it's also kind of unclear what the turnaround plan is, again, compared to, you know what Brian Niccol's trying to do at Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know what Kelly Ortberg's trying to do at Boeing. So, I mean, again, not an apples-to-apples comparison, but I do think just given the timing there, I think it makes this whole turnaround plan at Nike look a little bit sketchier, truthfully.
It's almost a narrative or a conversational piece in the sense that there just isn't any, like if you think about athletic anything, shoes, athletic wear, anything at this point, Nike is not the first brand that comes to mind anymore. And it used to be always that way, that they were top of mind for a lot of people. You know, especially on the running side of things, I mean, they're probably fourth or fifth. I would say there's 3 or 4 at least that come to mind before I would even get to a Nike. But I mean, 2 straight years, if you zoom out on this chart, 2 straight years just straight to the downside again. 52-week lows yesterday, heading into this earnings report tonight, guys. Going to be important here, I think, for Nike.
Just don't do it. Apparently is what you've been trying not, like, just don't buy the dip has been the answer to that question. I don't know, man. Like, I see some people in the chat saying, literally, the most recent thing was Nike is trash. Love to see it. Tired of Nike. So brands are. It's difficult. It's difficult enough in the apparel business when you have a brand that is so good for so long to be able to maintain that momentum. But then you throw in the fact that it's in athletics and fitness. That's even harder to maintain. I mean, look at Lululemon's had its share of troubles as well, and I don't think that surprised. I mean, that has surprised some people. The Nike is going to have to do a really good job to hold on to $50 tonight. Like, that's what I don't want stocks to go down, but I feel like when this is doing a move like this, you almost want it to be testing $50. Just because you go all the way back into 2016 support at that price on the monthly chart here. Like that, I feel like it would be better for a trading opportunity if we get a test of 50 than anything else. Because that way you can play it, like if it's able to bounce off that historical level, you can play some longs off of it. If it's breaking down, it gives you a nice flat bottom break. Like all of those things are much more interesting if Nike trades down there. We'll see how their margins are doing. We'll see how same-store sales, China versus U.S. Like all this stuff is important, and I get it, fundamentals and blah, blah, blah. But if we're talking trade, I'd like to see it trade down off 50. I feel if it's not trading near that price, then there might not be as much of an indication as I'd like to see. Like, has it truly made some kind of a bottom? Guilty till proven innocent. Don't try to catch falling knives. Yep. We already mentioned this with Lululemon. I said Lulu, like look at them. We showed this yesterday, the monthly chart of Lululemon. Very similar. It tried desperately to bounce off of a key price level. Did so for about 20, 30%. If you didn't take that 20 or 30% when it bounced on the 200 period on the monthly, that's all you got. And now it's making fresh lows. So when you see something in a downtrend like this, if you're not favoring the short side of the trade, at least you can do is be incredibly patient and understand taking profit when you get a decent bounce, because it's broken. Yeah. Broken stock.
No, definitely. I think just throwing up a trend indicator on something like a Nike. This is a weekly chart on Nike, and I threw up the 50 EMA. You can use an SMA as well. It'll be a little bit slightly different, but just to get the gist of the trend here, you can see, through 2019. We had that dip in 2020, of course, that everybody knows about. And then 2022, we hit those highs at 166s, but look at the distinct difference. We've been holding above that moving average for quite a while. We'll go straight up to the monthly chart as well. This is a 50 EMA on a monthly. You can see here, a bit of a chop zone when it does start to get back below it with distinction, and we've been headed straight to the downside. So yeah, breakdowns, absolutely yes. Is 50 on its way? I would be looking out for that. I think this is going to continue going in the same direction that it has been on a little bit of expanding volume on the monthly as we break down prior lows. Yeah, of course, I like that. And maybe 44 is this little bit of a consolidation base from 2015s all the way to 2017. 44s, 45s, I might be looking for that as well on this name. Beautiful backside move, absolutely beautiful reversion as well. Yeah, you can sit there and be like, yeah, it's absolutely trash, but at the end of the day, is there an exercisable idea here on Nike? And I think over the past couple of years, at the very least, there definitely has been on Nike. If you can either try to bottom pick or top pick, or you can just try to get with the trend as well, right? So the trend over the past multiple years on Nike has been to the downside. I don't know how Lulu's looking here, but I think Lulu kind of similar. It's a monthly. Yeah, wow. Look at the breakdown on this one. As soon as it gives, like it tries right there. As soon as it gives, it's gone right there. So I guess the 240, it definitely wasn't there for the 240 breakdown. But it seems like we're coming right into this prior wick low. What is that? 130s on Lulu. So yeah.
There we go. We'll get some clarification from JKL, another super chat. Appreciate you, JKL. Sorry, long silver fits a major thesis for me through the end of the year. Will benefit from market downturn and increased liquidity as a hedge to macro financial conditions. Also, the utility is huge. Absolutely, from a defense standpoint, the utility is there. It's crude. Where this conflict ends up going, what happens with crude oil and the U.S. dollar in the short term is causing a tremendous amount of turmoil. But I would tend to agree with you that we're going to find a good bounce. Things got so out of hand with SLV, and it was a historic breakout like this. You don't have runs like this. It was such a monster, like it just doesn't happen. Like it was such a monster breakout level. It ran heavily into it, and then it went absolutely like you know what parabolic breaking out. It would have been super clean if it just decided to come right back into 50 like that prior high. I think everyone and their mother would just say that's the easiest place to look for the dip. But like this is like this hammer month that we're having. Obviously, when you have a run like this, because it's historic on the way up, any downturn is going to be historic. It's the same thing if a stock goes from like $1,000 to like $10 or whatever. It doesn't take much for it to double. It's the same kind of concept. So yeah, it's going to be a historic down month for silver regardless, but that's only because of how crazy it was. And you do need to find some kind of a base. I just think once things have settled down, especially with the war over, that's when you can catch a bit of a bounce here. Let's see what else we're trying to give upgrades to, and some downgrades, obviously, with Joey Options.
Kick things off with the negative side of things there, Neil, as you typically like. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to start things off with Meta getting a $100 price slash here, guys, from $810 to $710. Slightly positive here this morning. That's going to be Moffett, Nathanson cutting that price target. And then we have DocuSign as well, too, guys. We're down 1.6% here, going from a neutral to an underperform with a $52 price target by B of A. And then we have Colgate as well, guys. Down a little bit less than 0.5%. Price target getting slashed to $85. That was once $96 by TD. And then PayPal, Loop Capital initiating a hold on this one, guys, with a price target of $46. Moving forward, let's take a look at some more positive things. Western Digital at the top of the list, guys, going from a market perform to an outperform by Bernstein, but also a price target increase to $340. You're up 1 1/3 here this morning. Now, Delta Airlines also getting the nod and a price target increase, guys, from $72 to $78. You're up 2% here this morning. Rocket Labs also getting the nod, guys. Buy rating with a price target of $90 by Stifel, and then Domino's Pizza going from an underweight to an equal weight with a price target by Barclays of 190 Great British Pounds, guys.
Delta then.
Yeah, like Delta's got
the
Amazon news, and it has the upgrade, but it's not. What are we doing with it? Nothing. Well, I don't know. Anyone can do what they want. I just don't see much of anything going on there. I was just telling Obi, like Rocket Lab with the upgrade. Well, that looks like a wipeout bottom. I love the fact, I like anything that respects and holds the 200 period moving average. Is going to let the 200 period matriculate down on so that you can get an idea of how much it's been respecting the 200 period moving average.
Wow, look at that.
For a very, very long time. Like bounce, go. And sometimes, you know, you might close underneath for a little bit and there's a test of the 200. So does this look like a logical bounce spot for Rocket Lab, at least in the short term? Yes. Do you feel good if this thing loses the 200 period moving average? Absolutely not. If it does, it's cooked. Probably. But it's bouncing now, so we kind of got to deal with brass tacks, deal with what we're looking at in the moment, and that is Rocket Lab holding that 200 period moving average, gets an upgrade, that's not a bad thing. If it's not breaking out 63 in here, then you almost look at, it's not yesterday's highs, I get that, but you look at about 59.75, which would be that resistance. I'm going to flip back to the 3 so we can see this a little bit better. Like if you look at this line of resistance here, or this area of resistance on Rocket Lab yesterday, once you have the thesis that it looks like a long bounce play, you want it to hold. It's not necessarily prior highs, but it's close to the concept of a dip back into prior highs holding VWAP. If it holds that area, I like the longs. I mean, I'm talking about the open here. If the open can hold that area, then fantastic. If this loses VWAP, it's losing that resistance, and you're back to the old pop and fade nonsense. So it's a good way to sort of eliminate. I'm actually going to throw that one on my iPad because that's why we love upgrades and downgrades, Joe, because sometimes you get a name in there. It was on the watch list, but it wasn't necessarily on my radar. I'm going to throw it in. You can't be bearish everywhere. You got to have some things that, hey, if we're going to turn, I think I like this one. As long as we hold that prior day, if I say prior day high, just excuse me on what I'm talking about Rocket Lab. I mean the resistance from the early morning dump, about 59.5, 59.75. If we don't lose that level, this is a long to be able to fill in the gap.
Yeah, out of those names, I think I like that Rocket Lab, the look on that 200 bounce. That's absolutely solid. Western Digital, we got a memory name up here as well. Strong seller yesterday, decent relative volume coming in here in the pre-market session, about 1.7, 1.5-ish. Gap up with, I guess, the rest of the market as well. But yeah, I'll keep a close eye on this one with that upgrade. Maybe this was a little too far, too fast on WDC, but again, Micron going to be one of the main watches if I am watching this sector here, but Western Digital with that bit of an upgrade at the same time. You can see here, bigger picture kind of breaking down, very similar to that of Micron SanDisk as well, but you can see multiple months of an uptrend. 320s, 319s, 60s I have at the highs there. Decent pullback back into the lower end of the range here on some of these memory names. Micron, again, going to be the most watched on the day today. So, yeah, no, in the chat, Sean's going to be back, Rick James, in the afternoon. You'll have me for a decent part of the day here as of right now. But we'll throw it back to the desk and see what's going on.
I was just reading this Canadian GDP note that came out here this morning. Month over month was 0.1% to the upside. Prior was 0.2%, so basically in line with expectation. There's a note on Oracle this morning. There's a couple actually. CoreWeave, first off, we'll get to Oracle in a sec. Closing this landmark $8.5 billion financing facility tied to its GPU infrastructure. So CRWV did move. It was about 10, 15 minutes ago, but worth a note. Getting some funding going. Here's Oracle bouncing once again this morning to start things off. Looks almost identical to what happened yesterday before we faded this move as well. But back to 141 here for Oracle this morning. Layoffs again for Oracle today.
Yeah, and I was reading reports this was going to happen earlier, and also I was reading reports like going back a couple weeks ago or so now, that specifically their cloud area was going to be freezing high right now. This is significant because the cloud infrastructure revenue, Brendan, is the one where they've forecast that massive $100 billion plus guidance going through to fiscal 2030. Now, if you've heard me talk about Oracle before, you know my opinions on Oracle, but in all honesty, there are just, I think, especially as of late, and I was talking to Brendan about this off camera, there's just a proliferation of stories that suggest things are maybe not all how they seem. We know last week we saw reports there's going to be a group looking into auditing Oracle for one of their defense contracts that went 700% over budget and 7 years longer than expected. So there's a lot of, I think, hand-wringing and confusion here with ORCL. Yeah, I mean, you're right. When you compare the pre-market price action of yesterday and today, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but right now it looks like it's kind of rhyming.
It's worth noting Warren Buffett is still on CNBC.
Oh my gosh.
There hasn't been really any other significant headline coming from that. I've been watching some of the comments coming through. He's been talking about inflation. He's been talking about a few other names, but nothing else really moving around. But Warren Buffett having a long conversation on CNBC this morning. Good to see him once again. The past couple of days have been easy fades once the market has gotten open. It was straight downside right at the open yesterday after the gap to the upside. Here we are again this morning, setting up very similar. It's, let's be honest, guys, typical for, I mean, we're not there yet, typical for a bear market that every bounce gets sold and the path of least resistance continues to be to the downside. The downtrend well in order here. Oracle, one of those looking like, again, this morning, getting this move initially in the pre-market, potentially could see some selling once we get open again.
Yeah, I like that.
This is like, you hate to be a broken record, but like if ball doesn't lie, like look at Oracle in the last 3 sessions. Friday, fail 141. Yesterday, fail 141. Pre-market high today, 141 back underneath. This is one of those, I don't think this is terribly complicated. If Oracle's your jam, if Oracle's what you're trading today, I mean, I'm not. Look at the daily chart too. Like if the daily chart, what does the daily chart tell you to do? It's getting close to some levels where you might start, when you start making some higher lows off here, you might believe it a little bit more. But how long did we last when we bounced off 130 last time? 1, 2, I don't know, looks like you had like 3 days of good, and then a secondary bounce, which lasted longer, but went about as far. So until we sort of sustain a move, it's not, holding the low for a couple of days is great. You can get a couple of day trades out of it, and you can get a little bit of a swing and all that kind of stuff, and it's all fun. But you don't get the long-lasting moves until you conform, hold a low, and start breaking out resistance levels. On the daily, like I said, 141 doesn't seem to want to go. So why wouldn't you just assume the pop and fade? The thing about saying something is guilty till proven innocent, or it's a short until it's not, like those types of phrases. Ideally, you're going to play that until it stops working. And if you do it every single day and you make money every single day, the last day you do it, you're probably going to lose. And so the whole option comes down to something I talked about yesterday. So long as when you lose that last time on that short setup, you don't give back like everything that you made for all of the days that it was working, then you're fine. But you acknowledge that when you play the trend, your last trade usually loses. That's just how it works on any kind of a trend. And if you want, not to be pessimistic again, but if you want to give another indication that, okay, maybe we haven't broken this cycle of pop and fade. So Marvell gets a $2 billion investment for the partnership with NVIDIA this morning. You see it spike. It was up 11% at one point. It gets to 99. Oh, look at that. That was Friday's open resistance and phase. It tries to bounce. Where does it fade again and is now fading past? Through 96. This is the strongest name this morning. This was the name. We have some upgrades where stocks are going higher, but this was the name with the good catalyst, strong sentiment. It's above the 50 and the 200. It actually has a pretty constructive chart. Like I would say it's, given how far it had fallen, like you actually are still in the midst of its uptrend. So this is a strong stock, still kind of holding out its uptrend. And even it, this morning on news, is fading past those prior highs. Does this look good if we can open holding 96.5? Yeah, if you're holding above this level, then I think it can test $100. But is it doing it yet? No. And so until these things are, you have to have that short sort of in your repertoire. And again, if you can't short, then there's always, like reverse ETFs, so you can just go long to express your short trades in. I hate to sound pessimistic, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I don't think it has anything to do with being pessimistic. Again, if you're trying to extract dollars from the market, you got to be willing to go both ways and be very unbiased about it. But yeah, I do like the idea on Oracle right here. Sellers were there before on Friday, and then they were there once again off of the open, which I kind of like a little bit better. That kind of hammers in the fact that, yeah, there are sellers on the ping, on the test of this area, 141s, and then the retest after we find a little bit of a base yesterday, 138s, 141s, once again giving us an all-day flush, almost going into the close with a little bit of a bid coming in at the end there. But yeah, gapping up once again, as Brendo said, looks very similar to that action of yesterday. Bigger picture, yes, we are very much in a downtrend on this one for sure, but we'll see. Can we get past that 141? I do like that idea. Can it show you anything distinctly different? Because when it does, then maybe it's giving you that's a strong piece of information for me. Over the past 2 days, there were sellers at 141. There's sellers once again in the pre-market with that bit of volume that does come in. You can see that candle. It's not that large, but whatever volume did come in, the high of that candle is sitting at 141.26, and that gets slammed right there with a little bit of an inverse hammer happening there. But yeah, we'll see if it can sustain, push above. Again, the market itself is doing a little bit of a gap up at the same time. So we'll see if some of these things are really, mispriced. Do they come back into fair value going into the middle of the day as well? But yeah, Oracle, good look there.
You know what? I heard this stat that if you play the trend 80% of the time, it works all the time.
Oh yeah.
But oh no, sorry. I was gonna be not to be more pessimistic, But it's not just us. See the poll we put in here, and I could end it now and it's still 72% of you voted, but I'll give more people, because it's closer to 9 o'clock now, I'm going to give a few more a chance to pipe in. And all you have to do is, is just type it like a 1 or a 2. 1 meaning you think that we're going to hold the gains in the SPY today that we've made. We're up about 1%. 1 and change, we're upside. 2 is no, we're going to have more selling. I don't think there's a need for a flat. I think it's not likely, given volatility right now, that we're ever going to be flat and have a nothing day. I think we're going to be distinctly one way or the other. So it's still holding that 70. We'll close it up closer to the open and get an idea, and then just let you guys know what our viewers think. And I think it'll be interesting. Because one of the things that you consider is if the sentiment is always too shifted in one direction, it does make the reversals good. It's not that you don't want to look for bounce plays. It's just, it's like the whole guilty till proven innocent isn't to say that you would never look long, but something distinctly has to change. I was just looking at the airlines and someone had asked me about USO. There's not much to change with regard to USO. It's still doing broken record, similar to yesterday. Made its high before 7 a.m. and slight downward trend. It made a distinct low before reversing, and then we went back to the upside. So it's doing what it did yesterday. Yes, it's trending down. That's a good sign for the market, right? It's down 1%. Market's up 1%. It's making lower highs. That's good. But we did this yesterday, and we ended up just making that low at 9 o'clock. If something similar happens, and if this bounces and gets back above VWAP and is holding it, you guys know what to do. We've been saying it a lot, unfortunately. But you got to be tracking oil. You got to be tracking oil. Keep your ear to the ground. Adair will be all over any news that happens. Looks like the Hegseth didn't really do much of anything to the market, which I don't think we weren't expecting it. Neither way, we stayed in the same range on both oil and the futures throughout the entirety of that briefing. So clearly that wasn't anything. I don't want to call it a nothing burger because obviously it's important information, but it didn't do anything for the market one way or the other.
All right, just keeping my eye on banking stocks here. Back to the upside this morning. That's XLF gapping up with the overall market here. Just broke through 49. A little bit stronger maybe than the rest right now. Back to the highs. There's a note from JP Morgan suggesting, or CEO Jamie Dimon saying, they have had some job losses due to AI. However, quote unquote, most have been redeployed. So if you go to tech land, it's more or less just, straight job losses. But Jamie Dimon, maybe in finance anyways, they have the ability and the wide ranging demand for employment to, send people elsewhere, which is good. Obviously, you don't want to see people losing their job, but definitely seeing it in all sectors now, not just tech.
Yeah, what's interesting too is another kind of finance and tech name, both XYZ here, Block. They actually got some kind of positive analyst note this morning, but I bring them up because we know that they had kind of said their laying off had to do with AI, and then when pressed on X in like a weird 3 a.m. post, Jack Dorsey said, well, actually, no, we did kind of overhire, so we had to deal with that as well. So It's interesting, even some of these cut and dry AI layoffs are not as cut and dry as they might seem.
I saw that. I saw that note from, what was it, Wolf Capital or who was it again?
Today? I think it was, I feel like Wolf has been really active lately. Today's was Loop
Capital, one of those, yeah.
Very weird one, yeah.
If we're getting to a point where they're initiating coverage on Block, this is getting a little bit slim pickings, maybe.
Yeah.
If you, just to remind everyone where we are on this chart, if you zoom out a little bit, this is 2022 on Block's chart after the huge COVID move and right back down. This thing has done nothing, absolutely nothing. We've been in a, what is this, $30 range, let's call it, on a daily chart for Block since 2022. And they're initiating coverage, guys, with a buy for XYZ.
So yesterday I was just telling Obi, because it's something we noted in the afternoon yesterday. Block, PayPal, and Affirm were all green into a red market yesterday. So this was, it held gains, it's going higher lows. I don't think there's too much crazy here to be honest with you, outside of maybe you've made a temporary bottom. PayPal was a little bit stronger yesterday, but again, it's another name that is, it hasn't really broken out the key levels. It's holding lows, but just hasn't broken out. This is the one I'm watching particularly. Like if you draw, I don't know, whoops, that's not the right tool. I want the actual array. You know, you can sort of see it's got this little bit of a wedge pattern. Like it's still lower lows. I could do that a little better, and then lower highs into a wedge, which could break when the 50 period breaks out. So PayPal is the one that's on my watch more than anything else. Okay, good sign that it was green into a red market. Fine. Right now it's moving exactly with the market. But if it's not breaking out of this channel yet, then I don't think it's time to fire. Too downward trending to like that too much. But what was it? What the hell?
I got my alarms still going on. I forgot to turn them off because I'm like, you know, I told you I've been waking up so close to the open. I do have a bunch of alarms near the open now, so I should probably turn them off. Yeah, see, look at that, 8:25, 8:55, 9 o'clock. I guess the next one isn't until 11:45, so that's fine. That's
Well, what kind of music was that?
Oh, I don't know. I think I just have it hooked up to like Spotify. It'll play whatever. I think it was like probably like a Russ or like a Weekend song or something like that. I don't know.
I was kind of waiting to hear the rest of it, but I see you like Marvell.
Yeah, no, I do like that Marvell, but no, it's a good look there on XYZ and some of those payment names at the same time, doing similar to that of the market, bit of a gap up relative to prior day's action here on block. Not really doing too much relative volume. Let's see what PayPal is up to here in terms of relative volume as well. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, slightly more on PayPal. But yeah, strong opening drives on these, especially on PayPal yesterday. But kind of just taking back what it gave on Friday here as well. So yeah, maybe something worth watching here. But bigger picture, you can see it's been stuck in this sideways consolidation for a few months now on PayPal. Yeah, MRVL, yeah, I'm watching this one closely, just taking a little bit of a stab at this. Again, I think it was much better to get involved maybe in and around VWAP. You can see here, held that VWAP quite well. We throw up an anchored to some of the news there. Let's take away that VWAP as well. That came in much clearer on the tests of those highs, 96.5. So I'm really like, okay, cool. I do want to get involved maybe for that 95, but where are sellers as of right now with the limited information that's been printed on the chart? Maybe up here at 97 is definitely in and around that anchored VWAP. Let's see if we can do a bit of a reversion here on Marvell. And the similar thing as what you were saying, yeah, I marked out that 100 mark. 163 is that high from last week, but there were sellers there last week. There were sellers there on Thursday, Friday, and then sellers in and around this area once again yesterday. So the question becomes, if we get that large sweep into the ask there on that news with some decent volume, are the same participants going to show up again? If they are, with the kind of aggression that they have been over the past 3 days, I do want to maybe stick with that trend on the stock. But yeah, no, sellers, in my opinion, are up here, 96s, so wait and see if that'll come into fruition. This could totally change coming in off of the open as well. When that open session volume comes in, maybe the sentiment has changed. Maybe we do get to up to 100. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, the USO could easily change its tune, and then the market can end up holding some of these gains. We'll see. But what we are going to do is maybe get a quick look at the futures. We have our free watch list to get into as well, so let's throw it on back up to the desk. We're past 9 o'clock. We've got Case Shiller, which already came out, and later on we'll have Chicago PMI jolts, but that's after the opening bell. But let's get into that rundown.
Yeah, lots to talk about this morning. Let's get right into it. If you haven't done so yet, grab the watch list. Link is below in the description. Second link will get you to the sign-up page for the watch list. All you need is your email address, and then you get that for free every single morning in the pre-market. We'll talk about energy here in a second. Just wanted to bring up Microsoft. There was a good question on TikTok about Microsoft. I mean, it wasn't really a question. It was, can we talk about Microsoft? And I don't know if I have much to say about Microsoft until the narrative changes. I don't know if anyone else has an opinion here, but there's not much to say. I mean, it's 34% off the highs at this point. And the business, I guess, is cloud at this point because, I mean, you can make the argument, even Sharif and I were talking about this the other day, this low-end computer option or laptop option from Apple might even be more negative for Microsoft and Windows-based PCs in particular. So yeah, I don't know if I have much to say about Microsoft at this point. Anything good, anyways.
There was a catalyst for them on the watch list this morning, but it also kind of fits with your narrative of nothing good. The Competitive Markets Authority over in Britain trying to get these guys here for their strategic market status. You can read more about that specific report on the watch list. It was not something that really moved the stock in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, to the person on TikTok, it's a little bit difficult to kind of give you any positives here. MSFT, the stock, has been beaten up. MSFT, the company, has been a little bit beaten up. Looks like we're trying to find some support at 356 if I'm to go technical, but if I'm to go fundamental, it's kind of hard to see through the clouds at this point.
I mean, 52-week lows are not that far away. Nice. 344. 345, you got to go back to April of last year, and we're right there almost right now. So yeah, it's not good for Softy right now. But let's talk about this energy narrative once again this morning. We did start things off here. I just brought up XLE. I mean, you can look at crude if you want. We got up to, I think it was 113 or something like that for Brent overnight. WTI back above 100 as well. XLE trying to roll over right now, but we were positive. I mean, this thing gapped up yesterday. It was just straight sell all day long.
And it's interesting, too, because you had a situation with, and I have USO up here, where you had at least initially a push higher here in oil and a push higher in the market, which that kind of seems antithetical. And the reason for that, though, is because, you had a Wall Street Journal report suggesting that President Trump told his aides that he's willing to end the conflict in the Middle East without reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So that's good for the market. But then also, you have these ongoing tensions in the Middle East with a Kuwaiti, what's the specific word here? Oil tanker in Dubai waters getting hit by Iran. So it's unfortunate that you have, like, even as you have signs that these could be ending, you still have signs it's continuing. And that's why USO is, I think, going to continue to be an interesting spot here. Yeah,
individual producers looking very similar at this point this morning. I mean, the play has been the USOs of the world, as Adara has been mentioning. But overall, the sector, it's green, guys, but not much at this point.
Yeah, well, there's a distinct difference in what's going on with Boyle. So Boyle is actually up 6%. So you're getting a move here. It's almost squeeze-ish early on. This will be worth watching. I mean, usually there's only been a few days that I favored Boyle over USO for a trade. I feel like when it's going, this is obviously you get a little bit more bang for your buck, given that this is going to be one of those, like, they call it the Widowmaker for a reason, but I haven't seen a particular reason as to why it's going more than others. We know there's been some natural gas shocks and some targeting specifically in that direction. But for now, if we're just let's go back to brass tacks for a second. This is the chart of USO for the last week, all right? Like what days have you felt good about being short? The answer is, since that flush, none. Gap up, hold trend, gap down, trend up. This is the one day, because it actually fell before giving you a rally all day long, and then there was a big trend break, but then it's trend up, and then it's trend up. We are trending down right now in USO. There's no question about it. You're making lower highs, you're making lower lows, all that good stuff. But see what's happening again at 9 o'clock? You're starting to creep back up towards VWAP. You know, you're starting to threaten that we break this little downtrend that we've been in with these lower highs. That happens and we hold VWAP at the open, we get back into a potential situation where we just have another trend up day in USO. I'm using USO as that type of a futures litmus to me. Until it proves that it's trending, it holds trend down in the open market, then I want to be ready for the pop and fade. I think for now, Boyle is going to stand out a little bit, though. Like if you're looking for, if we end up pulling back here on Boyle, USO starts to go, this one could be a better dip buy long to play the trend. If it's going to move more, on any day that you're seeing nat gas move more than oil futures and energy's trending up, then you'd probably just pivot to natural gas as a trading vehicle. But yeah, it hasn't done anything distinctly different on USO compared to yesterday. I'll grant you, certainly, Boyle is looking pretty heavy here.
Yeah, no, this is an absolutely awesome trend here on XLE. Yeah, bigger picture, very, very green. You can see here, this is just a 30-minute chart that I'm looking at. I like to kind of step it up as well. You can see this bid has been straight up since the beginning of the year, January You can see here some of that volume coming in and sustained volume as well on this uptrend. I am watching USO a little bit closer, of course, when it comes to energy names. And you guys were here when we marked out some of these key levels on USO. Guess what? Absolutely beautiful, beautiful respect of technicals since that gap up fade we had. Bit of an opening range mark there. I was like, okay, well, these are the prices that I want to be concerned with. And guess what? We tried to kind of chop. We held that range. We pulled back, broke into the lower section of this this day one kind of range here on USO. Bid back up. All day strength on Friday. All day strength yesterday, breaking us out of the range, even pulling back into some of those key levels right here. You can see that pullback in the pre-market session. I'll zoom in a little bit more. You guys can get a better look at this right here. Pull back into there. Pretty much picture perfect test of that support and support all day long from the buyers there on USO. We'll see if we can get some more of that today. I'll be patient even through news. This is the beautiful thing that you know, I always talk about, like, it's just like, yeah, how much news have we had on USO since Friday, March 9th, right? A lot of news. Strong volatility, but it still maintained sanity when it comes to respecting some of these technical levels that were significant on day one of that higher relative volume day as well. So bigger picture stuff definitely going on here on USO. So I do have a very close eye on this one. And some people were saying, yeah, some of the overnight session trading on USO has been absolutely solid. Yeah, I definitely agree with you when you say that, because like some of the moves are coming into fruition throughout the session. You got to remember that crude oil trades round the clock. So we'll see, breaking out of this range here on USO. I have highs sitting at 25.95. We already cracked through them, but any sort of a pullback into any of those areas, we'll see if that comes into fruition today. 24.05s I have as a bit of a level that I'm interested in. Doesn't mean anything, it's just a line on the chart. And as one of the viewers put it one time, arbitrary chart art is the term that I like to use as well on this one. But seems like over the past couple of days, Neil, it's just been buy the dip on USO. You got to watch that VWAP as well. Yesterday and the day before, sure, you can get involved in all of this chop and get really chopped up. But guess what? Every time it came back down into VWAP, especially when it shows you that, yeah, volume weighted average price is holding well, that was a good place to potentially take a look at this name. But today could be totally different. I have no idea. I just want to see, observe what it's doing. Is it going to do more of the same? And if there's confirmation and confluence with that kind of behavior, then I do want to get involved with something like a USO. But yeah, energy is definitely on watch.
Ooh, I like this. We'll talk about tech. It's like the tentative better. You know, we get a gap up and we're tentative whether we're going to hold some of those gains. It's so much easier in the old bull market when anytime you're up, you're like, okay, we're going to have another up day. What do we like the best? Some things in tech look very good. We're certainly going to find out if we can separate the wheat from the chaff and see what's better than others.
Just quickly before we get to that, Robinhood didn't really move on this, but Robinhood and SoFi being mentioned. There was reports, I guess, late yesterday suggesting that the SpaceX IPO was going to exclude, remember, 30+% was going to be allotted to retail. There was reports late yesterday suggesting that both Robinhood and SoFi were going to be excluded from that allotment. Elon Musk has taken to X and now said that is incorrect and false. So they didn't really do anything on that, but worth noting for Robinhood and SoFi. Apple back downside right now. Did get a nice little pop here to pre-market highs when Warren Buffett was talking about the company very positively, suggesting that it was the best trade or the best position they ever owned, and said, if you missed it again on CNBC this morning, that Berkshire sold it too soon or started selling it too soon. And if you go back in time, it was Q1 of 2024 was their first major share sale of Apple shares after owning it from 2016 through to building the position from 2016 up to 2024. It got to a point where it was by far their biggest holding. And then he started offloading it through 2024 into 2025. They still own some, I believe. It's significantly less than what it was at its peak. But Rolling over right now, we're back to pre-market lows here, similar to what happened yesterday.
Yeah, one tech name was actually at pre-market highs, and I laugh because the catalyst and the sentiment for this is far from positive, and it's Meta. META and Google, so of course, the two companies that were implicated in a suit last week, a personal injury lawsuit, they've both been summoned by Indonesia for failing to comply with new rules requiring what they're calling high-risk platforms to deactivate accounts for users under the age of 16. Australia's regulator also investigating major social media firms for violation of their own under 16 bans. So interesting look here. It looks like the Google and Meta turmoil might not end quite yet. But again, I mean, if you've got names like Apple, you have some positive news. We talked already here about MSFT and their own issues here with antitrust regulators out of Europe and the UK. So interesting stuff here. It seems like a lot of the story of they're kind of all going on their own path, though the general gap up in the tech space as a whole was attributed to, again, that Wall Street Journal report suggesting Trump could end the conflict without the Strait of Hormuz being reopened.
Just seeing a minor headline for Amazon, looking actually pretty good here. Amazon stock up to 205 right now, teaming up with U.S. Bancorp to be the issuer of two small business credit card products that the e-commerce platform is relaunching, according to Bloomberg. Again, 205, I guess, a bit of a level here. If you go back a couple of days ago on that huge down day, ended up being support. But Amazon actually looking better than most of them right now, guys.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing with Amazon is it's already filling that gap in that we were talking about earlier. Like there's some things are going to be above resistance. That's a key thing for me. Like you're holding key levels, you're going to be above resistance. And Amazon at that 203 yesterday's high, it's already trending into a gap fill. Once you get closer to the chop fall from Friday, which is 05 to 07, and here call it 06s, you get a little bit too tight to the top to like that one. But as long as I feel like I do about Rocket Lab when we're talking. Oh, we'll talk about Rocket Lab again. I feel like I do about Rocket Lab. If you have the prior high to pull into, then you have something to work off of. If we find any weakness in the market, you're not busting through support. You're turning resistance into a support level, and I think that gives you something to work with as far as a bounce play. And the other thing to consider with Amazon is, okay, it's not maybe under the moving averages. It may have had a death cross, all of these bad things technically, but it's held on to the low since that big earnings drop in February. Like you've been able to hold that low. You're getting a bounce off of that low as well here for Amazon. And then one more for you. Let's be real. Alphabet is going to have a low 20s forward PE right now. Obviously, you're getting a little bit of a bounce. If you go back to when Amazon was this boring uptrend and then broke out and got exciting, that channel that it was in for almost a full year is aligning with the 200, and we're falling back into it. So I like this dip buy zone here on Alphabet. Even if it loses the 200 period, it's still got the bottom end of that channel at about 250. I don't know if we get that test anytime soon, but to me, that's a stink bit area to DCA and to Alphabet. Doesn't really set up quite as nicely as Amazon in here. And here, while we're sort of at it, I'm going to throw up something with AMD. AMD doesn't look very strong on this chart. You wouldn't normally think, this is the tech play to go. But there is something distinct about all of these stocks that have been able to hold the line. And AMD has held the line of support. It's held the 200 period moving average. You just did a bit of a wipeout bottom underneath and are gapping back above. So that line is 190, that's 196.5-ish. I probably put 196 in the note. As long as it holds that level, this is one of those lots of opportunity. Because if you hold 96, there's room to 200. If you break 200, you've got lots of room to the upside. So I like this structure on AMD because it's simple. If we don't pop and fade like we've been doing every single morning, if USO just continues to downward trend, then you've got multiple layers here on the 196, which gives you some room to work with under VWAP, or the VWAP hold. I'm not taking any breakouts, bump that. It's got to be a VWAP hold off of the opening 15 minutes and then a bit of a go. So it's not saying you're like, tech is going to be better, because I'm still thinking IBIT, 38 pop fade, that's a resistance level. I got SMCI out here, guilty till proven innocent, and SMCI has all kinds of places to wait for it to get to. Specifically, obviously anywhere near the 22 level is going to be a good one, but I'm also looking at this 21.6 here that area, just to look to continue trend on SMCI, which has bad news. But there are some kernels. Amazon gives you a good look. I think AMD's got something going a little bit as well.
You know, when it comes to tech, I'm just looking at these TQs here. Yeah, back-to-back kind of strong sells, break a structure as well. We broke down that 45 halves. Pulling it a little bit lower here as well. But when it comes to the Mag 7, yeah, a lot of them experienced some strong selling yesterday, Neil, but there is one that did not look like any of the others. And just to give a quick look and just to, you know, to see how aggressive some of the stuff was sold. This is what the TQs did, right? All day yesterday. We'll run through them real quick. Microsoft right here, strong selling into the end of the day. We'll go to Apple as well, strong selling overall. You can see here starting off at 250s, closing all the way lower as well. Tesla at the same time, strong selling all day long. Microsoft as well, sure, a little bit of a pop, but pulling right back in. Google at the same time, strong selling, lower highs and lower lows as well. Similar kind of story with Amazon strength, but selling off into the end of the day. But take a look at this one, Neil. Meta.
Oh my.
Does not look like any of the Mag 7 yesterday.
True.
Sideways price action. Gapping up and holding sideways in the pre-market as well, poised to push for this 550 as of right now. So when it comes to tech a little bit better, I do think that Meta is looking distinctly different when it comes to any of the Magnificent 7 here on the day today.
Matt Murphy is the CEO of Marvell Technologies on CNBC right now with Jensen Huang, talking about this $2 billion investment. If you missed it this morning, again, that's Marvell's stock right now. Huge move on the back of that announcement, got all the way up here to 99. So they're both live right now. Matt Murphy, the CEO of Marvell, and Jensen Huang on CNBC. We'll get to that in a sec. Coming up here on the rundown as well. But let's talk about these memory stocks real quick. You got absolutely destroyed yesterday. Pick one. They all look like terrible. Micron was down 10% at the end of the day yesterday, so not great. SNDK, I was just seeing here, just took out pre-market highs. I'm trying to bounce. Micron has not, and is actually not even close, doing less than anything at the moment. But not a good look here. And if anyone missed it, this is on the back of this Google story that we've been talking about for the past couple of days with this new technology that they developed, essentially shrinking the capacity or potentially shrinking the capacity, which will make the need for, potentially the need for the amount of memory once thought, maybe less.
So yeah, I actually have the article up here too for those who missed it. It was like a week ago now that this has been a thing. You can really see it in the memory stocks. They call it turbo quant compression algorithm. It's going to be faster AI, or more efficient AI rather, and it's going to maybe require less memory. So not a good look for these names. But it's interesting, Micron had already kind of given up that move, and its massive rally into earnings and then sell off immediately after earnings is just like, what a rise and fall. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens here for MU, but I think it's down like $150 from its high, which it made, and I am not joking, less than 2 weeks ago. So yeah, this turbo quant, we're gonna have to see if this continues to turbocharge these memory names to the downside. Not a good look as of yet.
We'll recap this NVIDIA Marvell tie-up coming up here next, but just keep an eye out here. Marvell shares starting to get going through 96 right now on some of these comments. Again, the CEO and Jensen on CNBC currently.
I'm going to make this one easy for MU. No. Market's up over 1%, bouncing nicely. Micron is down 0.5. It just lost recent support. Its attempt to bounce faded off of that 370. We're all talking about that yesterday, and look what it did. It's not really gapping up and showing you much of anything. It's SSR, so it'll be short sell. The uptick will be in effect today. So, you know, if it does get going, sometimes you can get these good like false bottom breaks and then a reversal trade. That might be out there for MU, but if it doesn't do that, I'm not interested. There's plenty of other names that look a little bit stronger. A couple of them are actually up next.
Yeah, no, when it comes to Micron, I'm going to be watching for a day 2 play here, just throwing in some levels. It's my personal arbitrary chart art here. Got an anchored VWAP from the open from yesterday, so that's prior day VWAP. That's sitting all the way at what is that, 332-ish? Around 332, we'll call it, on the day today. Some pre-market highs at 327s as well. Pre-market lows at 315.70s with sideways consolidation. since about 7 a.m. here. Looking for that potential continuation. Bigger picture, backside move definitely, in my opinion, is on this one here. Just taking a look at the weekly. We'll go straight up to a weekly, throw those indicators off. You can see right here, clean breakdown of this 357, 360-ish level here on Micron. We had that sideways consolidation since the beginning of the year, Neil. This high was made in January. We attempt to push that high this month on earnings, fail, false break that high, the consolidation range high, and then pulling back and breaking some structure here on Micron. So yeah, it's not too much of a surprise to me that there's some news coming out over the past couple of weeks that could suggest that, you know, these the RAM prices may or may not be a little overinflated, and the use of you know, significant amounts of RAM may no longer be needed going forward as well. You can see here price kind of letting us know a little bit beforehand on that expanding volume, and especially when that earnings can't make fresh highs, it gets slammed right in. I'm just like, all right, cool, that's distinctly different. If you look at the past few earnings reports, sure, we didn't have crazy moves on the past few earnings reports, but that was relatively different, where you do get a strong push and then you get slammed right back in, and then we get the break of that range low at the same time. So yeah, Micron, have some levels up. We'll see what it does. Maybe, you know, I'm looking for sellers at that anchored. I don't know if we're going to come all the way back up to that anchored, but maybe a bit of a bounce, a relief bounce, but we'll have to wait and see. But I am definitely a little bit biased for the backside. I'm just going to wait and see if the price action actually is, you know, telling in terms of sellers being in charge on the day today.
Less than 5 minutes till the open here. We'll get the Marvell and Rocket Lab quickly, but nothing distinct on the imbalances. At 9:28, we'll get some updates there, but nothing too crazy. A bunch of penny stocks, really nothing that's going to pique anyone's attention. I'll give another look closer to the open, but let's talk some Marvell. NVIDIA, the CEO is still talking with Jensen on CNBC, and now up 11%. Again.
Yeah, trying to get back to highs here right now for MRVL. 98, a bit of a level if you go back a couple of days as well. If you missed it, again, $2 billion investment on an expanded partnership tie-up here with MRVL and NVIDIA. As Neil was just saying, if you're just joining, both CEOs currently live on CNBC talking about this.
Yeah, $2 billion investment here in MRVL by NVIDIA, as mentioned here. Basically, the whole point of this partnership is to make it easier for customers to build on NVIDIA's AI infrastructure system with Marvell. But here's the thing, they're not the first company to get like a cool $2 billion injection from NVIDIA as of late. Brendan, like Synopsys, CoreWeave, Coherent, Lumentum, Nebius have all been getting these $2 billion investments from Marvell. So when you put it like that, it's not that special here with Marvell. I think what's more important than the $2 billion is this infrastructure partnership that basically embeds Marvell in your deal if you are working with NVIDIA.
Everybody gets $2 billion. Weekly chart says 100, guys, maybe 100 and change could be a bit of a resistance point here for Marvell today.
Yep, I think, and we're probably headed for a test of it. It looks like we want to close above this 96.5. That's kind of the over/under level. Like if you're holding 96.5, that'll be good to set up an upward trend into that 100. If we immediately fail under 96.5, you go back to starting to think, okay, this just turns into another pop and fade trade. So that's the line in the sand area for me for the over/under. With only about 2 minutes to go, let me quickly pop back. Locator's not really showing anything. I know you were in Marvell.
Yeah,
we have that, and then we'll talk some Rocket Lab.
Yeah, no, Marvell, I was a little bit short into that 95, but yeah, no, new piece of information. Both CEOs are, you know, on CNBC kind of talking about it. We're getting that volume coming into the open, so we'll wait and see if this gives us any sort of a push towards that 100. Yeah, I have that 100. 63s as prior week high. That's where sellers were for the past, roughly in this range for the past 3 days, so we'll see if those sellers step right back in, guys.
RKLB back to the upside here this morning in a pretty big way right now. Again, a couple of positive analyst notes here this morning on Rocket Lab. 3 days downside here for this thing after a huge run up for not only RKLB, but the entire space sector. If you zoom out a little bit on higher time frames, still looking pretty good. Again, just an analyst note today, guys. Remember, 9:45 data, 10 o'clock data. Adair's going to have that for you. Good luck.
Right. Well, I mean, now Rocket Lab is at 62, so this Yeah, you can probably, I don't want to say stick a fork in the dip buy notion into the prior high that we're mentioning earlier, because it could still provide you with something, but it's already gone in here. So there was no test of the VWAP and that prior high on Rocket Lab. With 1 minute to go, I just saw a few things shoot around here, including Rocket Lab, but nothing really popped up on the imbalance locator to cause it. AMD went downside there for a little bit, so lost VWAP, still in front of that 196. The bad sign, and this is not good if you're caring about the market, USO is breaking it did this well before the open, but it's doing so again, where we're breaking out in front of VWAP. If that's going to happen, then it pulls the pop and fade trade in. And the first place I'll probably look is Bitcoin into IBIT at 38, Bitcoin's at about 67,000, much weaker than the overall market, down 0.4%. And if we're wrong about that, 75% of you that voted when we closed it just 15 minutes ago or so, 75% think we get more selling today in the chat of those that voted. That has made the pop and fade in play. With USO going back through VWAP, it's another reason to also believe it, as this market is now market's open, and that Rocket Lab is going absolutely ham. You know, Marvell, again, remember Marvell in play with that NVIDIA play. So Marvell, sorry, that's still Rocket Lab for you guys. So Marvell initial, like right before the open, Marvell got swiped down to 95.5, right back into 97.5, and back underneath. This is why I have this sort of over-underline. If you fail this at the open and cannot close above this 96.5, that looks like it's going to be another one of those reversion plays. Rocket Lab looks like it's absolutely gone. I see a few people throwing Tesla in here. Tesla breaking higher, about 2%, still a ways away from those big resistance levels from yesterday. 366 would be a big key. Keep your eye on USO. USO's coming back a little bit. That can give you some strength in this market, at least for now.
Yeah, I got close eyes on this Marvell. We'll see what it does with that 95, that kind of a pre-market low here. Was watching it at that 95. I was like, okay, cool. If it gets back through 95, I do want to take a piece of it here. But swipes down to 95, holding 96s as of right now, and then pushed up to 97 as well. So going to keep a close eye on this one. Any sort of size showing up on the ask, I guess, would definitely help a little bit. But you know, at the end of the day, it could just be a little bit of that spoofy man. So got to keep a close eye on that one. Market with a bit of a bid here. Rocket Lab continuing up. So I guess that's the one that might be going through 62s here. So we'll keep a close eye on this one. There it is, 95. Let's see if that can potentially come in. If we get back through 96s, I'll be like, all right, cool. Where's the next trade on this one? 95 pre-market low consolidation. That's where buyers were before, and boom, right through that, we get 50 pennies, almost 70 pennies instantly right there, down into 94s. Bye-bye. Pre-market support, where you at? I have no idea, but, you know, 94 halves. Let's see if we can get some there on Marvell. 95 is still a bit of an area. It has to hold below this and get a little bit lower there, covering a bit on that 94 halves. Decent start to the day. Micron pulling back up to 390, 325s here as well. Bit of a pop. Yeah, going to be waiting for that anchored VWAP area as well on that one to see if sellers step back into them. And all-day selling yesterday on Micron. Absolutely.
I mean, all-day selling pretty much everywhere across the board. I don't know that we haven't had too crazy yet, but let's remember you had a few minutes of buying yesterday. So IBIT they just did a topping tail candle again at the open. So there's your topping tail candle. When it did so yesterday, that was it. And then it just faded for the rest of the day. So any press through the high already makes it a little bit different than anything else. Still, this Rocket Lab, man, you've got to be kidding me. So it's trying to pull back. And we did like this for a long, but let's see if it can at least get back into VWAP to give some kind of a bounce zone here, and then we can try to pick that up. Tracking USO, it's right back above VWAP, so they tried to head down. Now it's going to look too bearish here. Unfortunately, as long as we're holding above VWAP, I think you got to look for the bear side of the trade, unfortunately, everybody. So that'll mean reloading and holding IBIT for VWAP and then see if we get the absolute low of the day. I didn't get SMCI because we're trading IBIT, but that's got the same pop and fade, so I'm going to go rectify that problem as we speak. Oh, that's right, I forgot something. Remember, Boyle was going absolutely ham in the pre-market. USO and oil wasn't doing anything, but nat gas was. It's starting to retrace a little bit here. So if we get energy strength, You keep an eye on Boyle. This was the bigger mover in the pre-market by an absolute long shot. Really couldn't find anything in particular as to why this was the case, but it is worth noting and watching that Boyle was much, much stronger.
Yeah, we never found any sort of news on that.
No, there was no news
right?
that I could find. Adara was
distinctly
watching.
different
Couldn't find
action.
anything either.
Distinctly different action.
No question.
On Boyle there, but 95, bit of a struggle here on Marvell. Seems like that pre-market level might be holding as a little bit of resistance here. Let me take a look at MRVL. Let's pull it up on the book here on the NQ so you guys can see a little bit of what I'm seeing as well. We'll throw up a size filter as well on this one. All right, so you can see here, it just shows one lot. But I think I told you guys before where I started to kind of, not really look at the single lots there and just really break it down. And I want to see absolute share size to really give me that granularity in terms of, if it usually rounds up. All of these ones, that could be half a lot. That could be 10 shares. That could be 99 shares. It'll just show you, it'll show you the level as a one lot. So I'm just like, all right, that's not the best of information for me. There we go. Okay, back to the 95s. I'll get out of that one there. We'll wait and see if 95s actually holds on that Marvell. But yeah, I guess the opening drive a little bit to the downside here. And now that I've gotten out, maybe it's going to finally go. But we'll see. VWAP, might be waiting at that one here as well. 1 minute opening range low is sitting in and around that 95s as well. But yeah, a lot of chop, a lot of churn in and around this 95. You can see here on the initial reaction in the pre-market, you can see all the way from 89s to 98s and some change, pulls back to 95s and holds since about 8 a.m. You can see every knock against 95s held on multiple tests. You got a bit of a rebid up into 98. Are they still talking? No, they are not. So they're all done as well. So 94 is okay. I think I might have some orders down there. I got to cancel those if we are going to get back through 94s. I'll wait for the next trade, which may be another pop on Marvell here. Seems like the pop on the market is also getting sold off.
The pop on the market is definitely going. SMCI ran the top. Here, I'll show you that one in a quick second. But you got to watch USO because I'm not giving up the notion that we're looking pop and fade because USO was holding the red line as VWAP. You had a bottoming tail candle. That's still looking like it wants to consolidate here and trend higher. So for that, I think you just sort of stay the course. We'll give it a couple more, give it another bar before I reload this one to the south side. If it breaks that high, we jump out. But that did happen. I got wicked out in SMCI, and it's already coming back in. So this still does look like a valid short. I don't know if I'll be able to get back in at some of those highs. Got to be able to pay attention. When you get that wick top, if you're looking at the wrong name, then getting back in can be a bit of a pain in the butt. Rocket Lab,
Micron,
not looking as strong as it was before. It's trying to hold VWAP here, but the pressure on the way back in is pretty heavy. It's filling in this entirety of the gap, and now you're trying to hold on to VWAP, which we always love to say. Yatube said, that's a good question. Why is Fannie Mae closed? Is it? I don't think. Is it? FM. That's interesting. I can't.
Is it halted or just like closed for trading?
Yeah, you know what? I don't see it either. Maybe there's a change of symbol. Good question. I will look into it as well, but I'm unaware of anything going on with Fannie and Freddie. I just tried to pull it up on the OTC as well, and I couldn't pull it up. So maybe it was like a symbol change that we didn't get over. I don't really trade the OTC, so apologies there. Usually I'd know.
I have it pulled up on my screen. I just typed in FNMA.
Okay.
I have not seen anything, but yeah, it's here as far as I can tell.
On eSignal.
If I get any more context, I'll let you guys know, but eSignal has it. So
okay.
Yeah, if the person gives more context, I can look into it.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just something here in P Pro 8. We'll figure it out. I don't know if you're asking if you're at real trading, then I don't know the answer. But if it's up on eSignal, then it's probably trading just fine there. So we'll figure it out. If it's on eSignal, then there should be nothing to go. Sometimes what'll happen is they might have had like a small change on the symbol or whatever it is in the back end, and then something didn't go through, and for whatever reason, we don't have it here at Real Trading. Oh, they just wicked the high. Of course they did. All right. And when I say they, I mean the market. It is what it is. Like I put my stop breaking through this resistance level, but I can I'll hop right back in. Don't mind doing it if we can. Same thing with our good friend SMCI over there. But wow, USO is it's trying to hold and break. It just hasn't happened yet. So I feel like it's a nibble situation until we get a distinct trend. We're not getting it, unfortunately. Like, we're just getting a bit of chop. I feel like at the open yesterday, like, we were clearly higher and then we had a dip that we could reverse. It was a heck of a lot more, giving us the indication of where oil wanted to take us. That's at least for sure. All right, so back to this, and we're back in IBIT, give it to the high, and then Rocket Labs, which is a massive runner. If you're just now tuning in, Rocket Labs was just an upgrade. The other big runner, Marvell, actually had legit news.
There goes
Micron. That's at 94?
93s now on Marvell. So yeah, I punched back through into those 94s. So yeah, solid play. I guess 95s was the place to be. But you know, I did say I wanted to kind of get re-involved here. Micron though, coming into pre-market lows as well as we speak. So that's been absolutely solid. If you're taking that breakdown at the same time, I have it right here on the left side of my screen. Unfortunately, not involved with that one at all. Ooh, where's the next trade? Maybe I'll just wait for a bit of a pop there. If sellers are really going to be on board on this one, then I'm going to be looking for something similar as yesterday, all day selling. So opening drive, absolutely solid, giving you about, what, almost $8 to the downside from those 322 roughly highs there on Micron. So shout out to anybody who had that for an opening drive, but the pre-market lows are sitting in and around that 316 level. We're just at 314s as of right now. Market kind of just holding up, what was that? We were holding 23.4s on the Nasdaq, and then what is that? 64 halves, 64.50s on the ES at the same time. I'm looking for that potential continuation here on Marvell, but it seems like the continuation is nowhere other than that Micron we slapped down into 313s there, Neil. 313s on Micron. So
yeah, but some context though. The ES is right at the top, right at just perilously at that high and trying to push through. USO still hasn't picked a distinct direction, but I keep wanting to say Marvell. I'm trading Rocket Labs. If I say Marvell by accident, those are two gappers, and I'm just mixing them up. If we lose VWAP in here, that's an easy out for me. I want to play this one back into the high. Obviously, it would have been a much better as a breakout trade here, but it is not prior day high, so prior day resistance and that VWAP. That's a good line in the sand, but this long is to VWAP. And if it plays again to the better level, which is, well, in my opinion, the better level, if we get that support, fair enough, I'll probably try to take a secondary trade down in there. IBIT with the high again, but it's all green candles. You know, like this one, let it settle down. We just saw another break of the high, but it's all green. Let it maybe trend back into like 38.2 or something. If USO is not going to do anything too distinct, then I don't want to be forcing the hand yet of the next available short entry. So I want to play Rocket Lab into the high. We'll try to hold on to this. It was just an upgrade for Rocket Lab. There was no gigantic story with them like that Marvell trade as well. Micron, if yesterday the PE was 6, you thought that was cheap? Well, you get an even better deal now. Forward PE was 6. I don't know exactly what it is now, but it's certainly lower than that. Another 3% down for them. I'm going to assume SNDK. Nope. Assumptions make a you-know-what out of you and me. SNDK is actually still trending up. This is Micron being a dog, and Micron alone being a dog in the memory space.
Yeah.
SNDK is up 2%. I don't feel like that would hold. That doesn't seem like that's the kind of thing that should hold.
So what are you doing in that kind of scenario? You're just like, okay, similar sector, they're kind of, you know, distinctly different. There's a bit of divergence, if you want to call it, in that action.
You know what my gut usually tells me? Given how far Micron fell, and how bad it was yesterday and how ugly it looks, and the fact the market just made a fresh high, usually I'd be thinking play the reversion on SNDK, thinking it should catch up. But it's so early. Like, how do you play a trend break at 9:43 in the morning? I
mean, if it
presses, look, if it presses the high again and holds trend in here, and we're still dumping all over ourselves in Micron, I haven't checked in a quick little second, then I think at some point SNDK catches up. But I'm not going to fight that one. I'm just going to go for, just stick to things that were in the playbook this morning, and maybe at like 10 o'clock revisit the trade, or 9:45 after we get a 15-minute candle. But I don't think that's the kind of thing that holds all day, in my opinion. But the memory names can do whatever the you-know-what they want when they can get going. So I just took some out at the 1-to-1. We're playing for the high on Rocket Lab here, which will be right at about 62. So if we get that buck, we'll be pretty happy with it, even if we missed that initial breakout trade here in Rocket Lab. I don't even remember who upgraded them now that I think about it. It'll be in the note. But also ASTS, rightfully so. If Rocket Lab is up, ASTS, you could be playing as well. That's up 7.5%.
Oh, boy.
So they are both rockets to the upside.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I heard no boy.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at this thing and I was like, okay, 94s pushing back in. Like, all right, cool. Kind of waiting. Is it SSR? No, it's not. Remember, it's gapping up. But you know which one is definitely SSR? That's a Micron here. But now 94 with a little bit of trouble here on Marvell. But gonna stick with this one. I'm keeping it much lighter than I did initially here on the push through that 95. Didn't really get too far with that one. Only about what? About 50, 60 pennies roughly there, but we'll see if it's doing a stair step down here on Marvell. But right now we got some numbers with Adara. What's up?
Indeed we do, guys. In 10 seconds, Chicago PMI forecast 55, previous 57.7. So we are expecting a decline here compared to the previous print coming out here in 1 second. Again, Chicago PMI for March, 52.8. That's going to be notably below the consensus of 55 and the prior print of 57.7. The much more closely watched print is going to come at 10 a.m. today. That'll be JOLTS job openings, as well as CB consumer confidence. Market continuing to kind of chop around here on, again, significantly lower than expected Chicago PMI print. See you at 10 a.m. for JOLTS, unless we get more news. In the meantime, back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. If we get more, if JOLTS moves the market, then I'll be a little bit surprised. I don't know if the labor market's going to be the jam like it usually is, but it could happen. So you always want to be aware that you're getting an economic number, so that you can maybe sometimes you pull orders, sometimes you move stops. I'm not doing anything of that nature. SMCI, I just want to jump back in. It hasn't made a fresh high since I got out of it, so it's making it weird about this pop and fade for some of those names. It's still looking a little bit weak. We're not really holding too many higher lows and big bids. But for now, you're just not doing anything distinct. I feel like we're getting a chop fest at this open. And then you start looking across the board, like Apple, range bound inside of a buck. You look over at Meta here. Well, Meta's actually distinctly different. No, see, Meta's really strong again, but we're not getting dragged up enough. And I'm looking like this Rocket Lab. It's still holding, but it just did a bit of a, see where it failed here? Failed's the wrong word. See where it pulled back. It pulled back right at this resistance level at the open yesterday. So it's trying to fill this gap. You don't want a lower high exactly where the lower high was when it dumped $3 yesterday. So I'd be a little bit wary of that. Maybe move the stop up to tighten it up so this winner can't turn into a loser. That's usually the way I like to go. Don't want to have the winner turn into a loser.
Yeah, no, for sure. Got to keep those, I guess, stops pretty tight there. Market taking a bit of a bid here. And look at that reversion on Micron. We came and wicked down into 310s there. So 320s to 310s on Micron on that opening flush, right back into VWAP as of right now. Again, market tailwind definitely giving us a little bit of a push back to the upside there as well on a few of these names. Let's take a quick look at some of these large caps and see where they're sitting at. Amazon just breaking or trying to break through its opening or pre-market highs there. Opening range high break, I guess, kind of failing at the same time. Apple is doing absolutely nothing as of right now. Wait, you know what? Maybe I am wrong. Some of these charts.
Look at Meta and Amazon. If you're looking at the,
no, I got to refresh my chart. That's what's. I'm like, wait, none of these are doing anything right now.
No, they're absolutely moving. Amazon's up 2.5. It's still going, trending higher. I keep wanting to say Micron, but it's Meta. Meta's been trending higher. Sorry about the dark pool wicks. That one continues to go. We just had even IBIT just went, so that just busted big time through that 38 level. Thankfully, SMCI's dog, you know what, and doesn't want to go. And USO, I think this is the real story. USO was back under VWAP. We have not held that uptrend or slight uptrend from the open. Now you're headed the other way. We're distinctly under the volume weighted average price. So if we're stair-stepping down in USO, that's a completely different look. This is what you needed to see in the overall market, or at least for energy, for the overall market to catch and sustain some of this bounce. So 75% of our viewers didn't think we were going to get a bounce today. I tended to agree early on, with the exception of something in play like a Rocket Lab. But for now, it looks like we are headed lower in energy, although oil is not dropping, so it seems this oil story, at least nat gas, showing some signs of relative strength. Went ham this morning, no real particular news story that we're aware of, and it's continuing to hold even with USO pulling back deeply into the low of the day.
Yeah, you gotta remind me. Thank you for reminding me that I do have to have USO kind of up on the watch. We got back up to 129 halves. If a level from the pre-market, you can see here kind of sellers right there at about 7:30, once again at 8:15-ish, and then once again at 9:30 in and around the same area there on USO. So good look on that one. Market continuing to push up higher, so it seems like, yeah, oil might be poised for a bit of a trade or a trend lower there. But that kind of hedge, it's not as aggressive as it was like a week ago, I would say.
I would agree. It's not, we don't have the same ridiculous correlation.
Yes.
But that's going to happen when you have things when things have dropped so far and you have so many people looking for the dip buy. I think you're going to be able to climb higher in some of these names in the overall market faster than you need to drop in USO, because they've just been, you're starting to get better PEs and all this stuff that the market just says, I don't care. There's dip buyers at every price on some of these names. So when you get a momentum shift, it can just go gangbusters. But I look at AMD. AMD didn't press into 96, but it is holding above VWAP and holding trend up. There's a 200 breakout play here. I know it kind of tagged $200 in the pre-market. I don't like breakouts today. I think that's, if you've been trying breakouts lately, they've basically been traps. But I think looking for a false break and then playing back into VWAP makes a little bit of sense as well. Another name was on my list, and I thank you for putting it in there, Brit, because if you're looking for trend, I'm not saying you found an SLV, but this is, remember we said 66.5. If you can actually hold above 66.5, well, the first step would be not breaking the low. If you don't break the low, there's only one place to go, higher. SLV breaking this top, still huge. I know it's up 4%, it's gapping higher, blah, 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 but there's still this resistance on the 15-minute. If we can punch through that, I think there's a ton of upside. I mean, not a ton of upside, but there's at least $2 or $3 worth of upside in SLV. This looks like it does want to break. So I want to play into this, see if we can't get a little bit of a, what do you like to call it, Obi? You say inventory into the breakout?
Oh, yeah.
Steal an Obi-ism?
Got to be. Sometimes I say that because I always tell myself I got to think about like things in terms of a wholesale way, because you are kind of buying and selling things. So I like to try to remind myself that that's the perspective I want to try to keep overall. I don't know what your opinion on that is, but
yeah, I think. No, what I like about it is it basically means, to me, it's an easy way of saying that you want to get into the position, like you like to trend into a long break, let's just say. So you want to get into the position with the momentum and not have to fight it at the top. Yep. So that way, when it gets to the high, you can make that decision whether you want to take the break, whether you want to trim some, because I can go long in here, I can trim some there and then buy the dip, or I can add to it on the breakout, depending on what I'm seeing from the overall market. You're playing the momentum into the key level as opposed to just getting completely wrapped up that it's going to be a breakout or nothing else. So SLV, if it gets to the $0.50, I will take some out in front of that high. I am going to respect it. The only thing I'm still short is going to be SMCI. I don't know what to tell you, but the market's now 1.5% to the upside. The NASDAQ 1.6. USO is going down. It seems like we're getting a bit of a different story here today where we're going upside, but not in this name yet. This is the only, I stopped out of it and then it just wicked the same high, so I just jumped back in. I'll keep playing it to VWAP as long as that's the case, but for now it's Rocket Lab, and then the new position is silver going into the high of the day. We'll take some out there, then look to buy dips anticipating a false break. I'm not saying we'll get one, but I'm kind of anticipating a bit of a false break. And if you're checking back in on oil, this would be the low. It's lower the day on SLV. The pre-market lows are just a little bit lower. But oil going down and the market going
all the way up.
Oh, I don't like that. I like this.
Wow, USO. I think there might be something on USO now.
That's way better than the arrows. The arrows are kind of corny.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my opinion.
It's a bit of a flush coming in on USO here as we speak. Back down into some of these pre-market levels here. So yeah, it seems like that was, and it stayed, a good place to sell in and around those 129.5s as we push a little bit lower here at the same time. Yeah, market strong at the same time. 23.5s we're pushing through on the NASDAQ and almost at 64.90s here on the ES at the same time. So yeah, we'll wait and see. Again, I'm being patient. I guess if you had it here at 29.5s, that was pretty nice as well. Kind of observing where sellers were before a couple of times, and just getting involved with some more of that action. But again, that's not really. I do like that trade, but that's not the trade that I am looking for. Right? These are not the trades that I'm looking for.
Well, it's official for me. I'm now only in longs.
Nice. Yeah. No, the market definitely pushing very aggressively, right, as of right now.
Well, remember we said this, at some point, the pop and fade trade is going to turn into, if you do it every single day and it makes money for you every day, the last day you do it, you're probably going to lose. But that's, with SMCI, that's the last one. It held that low, or held that high. You try to do that pop and fade over and over again, but eventually you break out the top and you punch out, and then you find yourself only in longs, which is fine. Like, that's the way I like to look at things. Like, USO popped to the downside, and the market continued up. So we found the things that we liked long. Had SLV breaking a consolidation above VWAP. It just got to the high. I'm going to buy some dips in there. Rocket Lab, I'm a little bit, concerned wouldn't be the right word. It's not on the Amex. But it's still not doing much. It's got the same level on it. I'm really going to respect this 62. And even then, we can't seem to get through the 61.5. Like, it's going 1 point, and that's about it. Like, it's go 1%, pull back, go 1%, pull back. And I'm looking for the hold for it to get that second move in. And then I'll feel a heck of a lot better. Let us know what other symbols you guys are watching. Yes. Right now, we're almost 2% up on the NASDAQ. It's looking so much better. But for a lot of things, we're just barely breaking through yesterday's high. So, yeah, we're happy about it. But it's not that big of a move, is it, Adara?
Keep an eye on Snowflake here, guys. SNOW announcing that company veteran Jonathan Boulier has been named the company's new CRO, or Chief Revenue Officer. Current CRO decided to leave for personal reasons. So again, new Chief Revenue Officer effective today. Furthermore, Snowflake reaffirmed its Q1 and fiscal 2027 guidance. So SNOW could be one to watch today. Of course, one that was hit by what we were calling the SaaSmageddon as of late, with these software names getting hit.
I mean, yeah, unfortunate. This Marvell comes all the way to VWAP. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm queuing up to, really kind of push into it, because like, okay, where were sellers before, where were sellers again? And then it comes up to 95. It didn't really take an add there, and it swipes right down a whole $1 right off of VWAP. So guess where sellers might be? At VWAP, right? VWAP. So there you go. A little bit of a miss on my part. But, I was just like, all right, I'm going to give it to VWAP. I'm going to see if it kind of holds. A bit of hesitation. If you look at a smaller time frame chart, a little bit of hesitation, and you can just miss $1.50 now away from VWAP. Look at that slam into off of VWAP
well,
there.
The slam back through 95 is...
That's the one. Back through 95, kind of break of this. I'm watching this action here as well, and if you guys are watching along with me, I'm just like, yeah, this is a little bit of a soak, super soaker happening here, and then he kind of blasts right into VWAP there. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm looking for some of that move to push right back into, and it's not always going to be as clean or nice. I didn't expect it to swipe down $1.50. But yeah, it's definitely not over. I'm waiting. This bigger picture kind of stuff that I'm potentially looking for here. I marked off some levels in the pre-market session. Let's pull up some of those and see where those are sitting. MRVL on this one. Is it here? No, I guess it's not on this chart specifically, but I did have that anchored VWAP. And remember, I was like, okay, well, anchored VWAP held off the open. Yeah, a little bit of a shake and bake. Guess what? The retest of that 95, Neil?
Just a reminder, I'm going to throw this up here, just as we're talking about it. Oh, it didn't work. No. Oh, no. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I just wanted, just a reminder, we're going to throw the news up every now and then. Okay. For Marvell.
Yeah, no, that's $2 billion stake with NVIDIA. So yeah, decent news. But continuing run of similar bets, I think that's the key there. And with the market, again, the market's hella strong as of right now as well, and that's maybe giving us some more precedent for the pushback up into VWAP as well. I have no idea. I'm just looking for things of confluence. There goes Micron though. Micron is, aggressively strong right now. Let's take a quick look at this one. This was the one that we definitely marked some levels. Pulls into pre-market lows, 315s. Pulls into prior, end of session, 8 p.m. lows as well. Wicks high, so SSR name catching a very strong bid as of right now. Again, in line with the rest of the market. But anchored VWAP, as we mentioned before, is sitting was sitting around 332s, now at 330s, just shy of 330s here on Micron. So we'll see if we can get there. That's where sellers kind of were as of yesterday. You can see that first little pullback consolidation that happened at 10:15. A bit of a bid comes in, holds that anchored VWAP, and we get that extension all the way away from that anchored VWAP as well. So we'll wait and see if and when sellers actually step into this one on Micron. But right now, we got some numbers, so let's see what's happening now with the DARE.
After that weaker than expected Chicago PMI print, we're now coming into JOLTS job openings. I think by far the most important print we're going to be getting today. Forecast 6.89 million, prior 6.946 million. So we are expecting a bit of a decline here compared to the prior print. CB consumer confidence 87.9 forecast, 91.2 previous. So we're expecting a bit of a decline here when it comes to consumer confidence as well. Just 1 second until we get these prints. 91.8 here for consumer confidence. That's going to be above expected, more confident consumers than we were expected. JOLTS job opening 6.882 million. That's going to be just below the forecast of 6.89 million. But again, higher than expected consumer confidence. Certainly not a bad look. Market not reacting too much to this, just continuing to push higher. MRVL is absolutely going to be in focus here, Marvell. Now, in case you missed the catalyst on this, NVIDIA announcing its latest $2 billion investment is going to be in Marvell. And I say that because, as we mentioned this morning, they've actually announced a string of similar investments in other companies, including Synopsys, Nebius, and CoreWeave. But this Marvell investment also comes with a strategic partnership through which the companies are going to be powering next generation AI infrastructure. Well, we have to talk about USO because this catalyst here, a little bit of a negative for USO, but also being attributed as a bit of a positive for the market. Wall Street Journal reporting that President Trump has told some of his aides that he's willing to end the conflict in Iran without reopening the Strait of Hormuz, marking a massive change of pace. We'll have to see how all of this settles, but in the meantime, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and we'll head back over to Neil and Obi.
Thank you, Adara. The irony is, before Marvell's news came out, like AMD was something that we were obviously a little bit interested in. That's now holding a trend above 200. You're seeing the market, and just very quickly here, you're seeing us press into some pretty distinct highs. Like you're going, not just yesterday's tops, but this is the NASDAQ, sorry. If you go back to Friday, the lower highs from the morning and the pre-market lows, like you're into that next gap up. If we don't get 23.6 on the NASDAQ, you still have a potential fade area. I hate to say that. I know everything looks so really good. And then you look over at the ES, it's a similar story, but it's like the 6,500 level here on the ES corresponds with like the Friday's open. So this is a spot. No questions asked. I have this trend line drawn on my good friend, it's not really my good friend. You know what? I should be respecting this. I didn't get my dip buys on silver. It didn't actually get into the volume weighted average price, but this is holding trend up pretty decently. I can slap that on there and be able to see it. But we got to be able to go a little bit further than this. Like you're looking at trying to fill in this gap, which is all the way to $68. And on a 15-minute candle, we haven't done much work just yet. So an immediate fail here, still to me, like we haven't really popped through some of these highs. Like we're just trying to do that first step. If we fail the first step, this is not the kind of market where you want to get cute with the longs. See, the position board just went away. The next fill that we get, it'll come back in. We got a bunch of super chats, Andre, just throw them up. The market's still looking pretty strong into that 2% mark and trying to go. If you can't, then I will. There we go. Parker. Hey guys, thank you for, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Neil, would you be able to show and explain rebate trading you do that is not shown on the stream? I heard you and Sean mention it the other day. I haven't done really much of any of it, and it's a misnomer to call it rebate trading. That's what old heads will call it, but I'll tell you right now, even in something like this, like APLS is getting bought for 41 cash plus a contingent value right of $2. So it gapped up. There's a cash portion to it. I'm not very active on this one because, hey, I'm doing the show for you guys. Could I be up a ton on this? Yeah, probably, if I'm being real about it, but I try not to get that kind of FOMO. You make gross on these. If you're not trying to make gross, then you don't really make money on these anymore. You can, because it goes back and forth in tight ranges, but I trade these the same way. Like if I catch one of these doing a trend break, like up here, if I was trading a pre-market, I'd play that. See that bottoming tail? I play these for longs into VWAP. It fades underneath the volume weighted average price, which also happens to be underneath the fair value, cash value. If you do a present value calculation, then I go short underneath that because it's a VWAP and momentum. I don't make this, when I'm trading even something like this, the principles that are used are just transferred.
Yeah, exactly.
I keep it pretty simple in that regard. You know, and so like this one, it was at VWAP again. That was going right into the open when we're focused on other things. So we give up something to be able to give you guys a show. But the principles are typically the same. There are other ones that just sit there and don't move inside of a range. And if I was into one, I'd show you guys. But this is different. Like this is when I trade Warner Brothers, which I've shown you multiple times. Like my best trades on Warner Brothers have been trend breaks. Like whoops. Oh, we're missing some data there. But like it'll do something like this. It'll trend down and I'll get a reversal trade on it. And I'll treat it the same way. It's just that the liquidity is different and the range is a little bit more defined because of the time value of money. So silver is still absolutely cruising. I like this one for a hold, but Rocket Lab is distinctly different. Like we're coming back into VWAP here. We've bounced a couple times. I tightened my stop so we can't turn it into a loser, but I'd like to see this hold on. Maybe give us like you see all these bottoming tail candles? I'd like to see it change behavior. If it changes behavior, then I think it can be a bit of an add there. So far, so good. Can't really complain, but I am monitoring the trend on SLV very, very closely here. It's getting into that 67 level. And if that's where the turn is, don't mind taking it out and looking for the next trade. If you watch me, I'm more of a station to station type of trader. Haven't really looked at any small cappers today, which is weird. Will we?
No, I don't think we have. I think we got a call for Adara, so we'll be right back.
Yeah, you'll see small caps from me in like 15 minutes, but I do want to kind of go over with a little bit more context the consumer board confidence print. So as we mentioned, that was a lot higher than expected, 91.8, higher than the prior print as well, and well above the forecast of 87.9. So the comments here show that consumers' average and medium 12-month inflation expectations were little changed, but they do remain elevated. So even though consumers are confident, they're still concerned about inflation, and they also believe interest rates will persist at higher levels over the next 12 months. So consumers confident, but not really seeing a rate cut, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Adara. Yeah, market taking a bit of a pullback here now. Second. This is the second one. This is no, not the second one. The third 15-minute candle of the day right here. You can see a bit of a pullback, 6,500 on the NASDAQ. Didn't really quite make it there and didn't quite get to that 23,600 either on the NASDAQ. So ES 6,500 and then NASDAQ 23,600. Bit of a pullback as of right now here. Micron continuing to push higher, but is it at that anchored VWAP? Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. So I'm seeing that at just shy of 330s. 2950s-ish is where I'm seeing that level. Let's see if that potentially can come in. I'll be patient. I'll wait. And even after sellers show themselves there, maybe I don't want to be, I don't want to jump the gun and necessarily just be like, all right, well, the first sign of selling I see there, maybe sometimes I do like to take that trade. But again, I want to maybe wait for some confirmation, some consolidation, some lower highs as well. Really let the chart and the price action talk to me before I make any sort of decisions there. But yeah, Marvell still seems like it's kind of, seller heavy. Every one of these pops has been sold into since the open.
if and when that changes, I'll be more than willing to give this to the risk limit that I'm willing to on the day here. But as of right now, we'll wait and see if it can get through this 93-day low. That's what I'm waiting for, if it can actually do something like that. You got something on USO?
Well, here's the thing. USO, simultaneously, you'll see both the longs came out. One trailed out, and then one stopped back out through support. And that's going to be USO breaking. I don't want to say it's breaking out, but it held the bottom, put in some higher lows, and is attempting to break the trend. As that happens, we're continuing to push down. Rocket Lab came out. We kept that stop. Not at VWAP, because VWAP is just a line on the chart, but basically underneath that prior bar support. And then SLV also did its first real pullback, so that trailed me out off of that high. This is still holding a little bit better, right? One of them longs is through VWAP. The other one is still putting in some higher lows. I like the notion that we can get back into VWAP on SLV for sure. But you know what? We see all of this volatility and activity lately. And then you ask yourself, for traders, this kind of environment is giving you opportunity, right? More setups and more momentum. But can you take advantage of it the right way? To do so, you need capital and you need discipline. Well, that's where Trade the Pool comes in. Instead of being limited by the size of your account, you can access firm capital and focus on executing your strategy and managing risk. No more fear of blowing up your personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about your personal savings. This is limited risk trading, so if you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without risking your own capital, then visit tradethepool.com or scan the QR code now and get 10% off. I know we had a bunch of super chats, and let's see if we can get, I feel like we missed 3 or 4, Andre. Canada, there we go. Thank you, Junior Sound. I'm gonna say Junior Sound. Swing trading, SPY options at close seems to be working for me overnight. In the money, $9 since. Hopefully it stays up. Congratulations. Thanks. Keep watching what energy's doing. As long as that can hold trend down, I mean, the longs are looking pretty solid for some continuation. We're in the midst of a pullback right now, so let's see if we can hold that pullback and some higher lows. Rust AM, okay, Rusta, I'm going to say. ASNS still waiting for the pop.
Okay, that's a name. That's a name we hear every now and then.
No, you're thinking ASTS. ASNS, I have no idea what this is. But hey, you gave us super chat, appreciate it. It's a penny stock. Here's the problem. A penny stock that does 635,000 shares is not very tradable. You want you want 63 million or something. Yeah. So yeah, you can wait for the pop on this.
Size on the
you usually, even if it's made a distinct bottom, you need some kind of catalyst. You need a reason for it to go squeeze. I don't even know what sector it's in, but it's not doing volume. It's a habitual line stepper of a chart. When you see this, when they get going, you can ride them for a couple of days and then usually get the you-know-what out of Dodge. But what's the reason that it's going to pop? We don't mind bringing it up because thank you for the super chat there, but I see something that looks like a bit of a dog. Nick Dubs, thank you for the super chat. Nick, what do you got going on? Thank you for silver. You took it. Congrats. Let's see if it can hold up. It's pulling back. I keep looking up. It's pulling back, but it's not getting to VWAP right now. Check out the trend line on the 30-minute from the 19th to today. All right, it'll be easier for me to I'll just do it on eSignal. That's a little bit easier because I can just type in 30 very quickly instead of messing. Because I use a 15-minute chart. I don't want to disrespect it. Trend line on a 30-minute. Where are you seeing a trend line on the 30-minute here? It's not popping. It's not coming down into any support on a 30. Maybe if I go to an hour, if I go 60, what do we do? What happens if we pull a 60 up here? Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything in terms of trend. To me, when I'm reading this silver chart, I'm just sort of seeing this break above a resistance level and then a gap fill. Maybe it's breaking the downtrend. Nick, are you talking about breaking the downtrend? I don't know if you are. Zoom out. All right. You want to zoom? I don't like the zoom on this. It's like a pain in the butt. I'm going to go to an hourly. If I go to a 3-hour. Do a 3-hour? No, I can't do a 3-hour on this. Whatever. I think I get what you're saying, though. You're looking at the down. He's looking at the downtrend break, which I think you should be able to see pretty easily on a daily chart. I'm just going to leave it at that and go back to my own chart, not mess around with eSignal. Because I know what you're talking. If you're talking about the trend break downside, then that just shows up right here on the daily chart, right? Like this one, this is what you're talking about. So this is your trend break. But the problem with this, I'll use this for bias on the day, but I don't use that for I don't use this for like an entry day trading. Like I'll just look at this and say, you're breaking trend, you're above this, I favor longs on silver today. And then once I'm favoring longs, then I start looking for how we can make the trade, which is breaking this consolidation above VWAP, or it could be something like pulling back into prior highs, it could be a breakout top. Then your like day trade entry point is a completely different story. But it starts with the bias. Like I had the bias in silver from what you're talking about there, Nick. So yeah, I think we're probably looking at the same thing, but I don't find a trade off of that trend line. That's just not the way I approach it. Adara, what do we have?
We have HIMS moving here. New York Times reporting that the FDA is expected to lift restrictions on peptides. It's going to be a good look here for HIMS, which of course offers a variety of these products here on their website. HIMS pushing higher. That's hims and hers.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, when it comes to trend lines on silver, this is what I'm really looking at, or I was looking at over the past couple of months here. So this was the trend break I was waiting for. Did participate a little bit in some of these moves. You can see here strong trend, accelerated trend, that breaks as well, a little bit of overextension on multiple, I guess, indicators, whichever ones you like to use. I like to use certain specific ones that are ATR related to kind of look and measure overextensions, oversold and overbought conditions on certain things when things move distinctly differently. And you can see the breakdown came in hot and heavy, pretty much all in one day off of the accelerated trend, and then over a couple of weeks on that bigger picture trend that we see from November of 2025 here on silver there. So yeah, I like it, but I think you're talking about maybe a shorter time frame. If you're talking about this one right here, I'm looking at a 3-hour chart. I want to do that. If you're talking about, let's say, I guess this one, strong selling, intraday, magnet to that, that's sitting over there. And then if you want to go a little bit, I guess, closer, maybe that's sitting there. And then we can continue to keep doing this. Again, shout out to, Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by John J. Murphy, where he talks about fans. Right? When trends kind of move, you can talk about like trend lines and kind of fan them out. You can see here, these are the different things, and maybe different players are looking at different lines. And once it starts to break everybody's line, then you really start to get some decent acceleration here, and that's an example of that same kind of acceleration maybe you want to look for on a higher time frame for the long side. Those were the long trends there.
Do you remember the stock? Where it was an afternoon show. I forget the stock, but I'll never forget the moment. It was the afternoon show. We were both looking at a trend break short on something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was like,
yeah.
And the funny part was it didn't matter which trend line you were looking at. Oh, no. Like both the trend lines were fantastic entries. And then after that, you're like, we were basically discussing, that just means that you enter on both of those trend breaks. Like if you're already in, you add on the other one, because the second one at the worst price was actually a crazier move, but the first one gave you a great entry point. Sometimes you just like them both. Adara?
Off the top of my head, I remember such incidents with Shopify. This would have been what, like summer of 2024? There was also DURUG, a stock that we called Drug, that was over at that desk as well. I believe late 24, early 25. So yeah, I mean, there are a couple different examples.
It began with an S, so you're probably right about Shopify.
Yeah, it might have been Shop.
I wish it was well over a year ago though. Yeah. So it was. Then I feel like Adara is usually undefeated when it comes to these things, so I just kind of take her word for it. Like I can literally picture the chart in my head, but it was definitely not a name that we trade on an everyday basis.
No. So Shopify would track. Definitely.
Right. Well, that is a reversion that happened quickly. Speaking of reversions, we were just talking about trend lines. Okay, we got sidetracked a little bit. We were just talking about trend lines. So AMD, which I thought was a 196 dip buy today, that's fine. The structure of that trade, I'd have to go to the 15-minute to show you, maybe explain it a little bit later. But I like the 196 dip more than anything else on AMD. It held the low at 97, higher low, then broke the high. So here's where it breaks the high of the day. The dip on the fail break of the high holds the trend line, regains here at 200, and then played into the top. And you're wondering, well, why would I get out? Well, every single time there's enough bear in me that when I see USO continuously holding that low, my gut action, my gut response is I'm not completely convinced in this up move. So I keep getting out. Like I got out of silver and it pressed a little bit higher. So fine, fair enough. Same thing with AMD here. I'm not completely believing it, which is fine. 65 held on the ES. The NASDAQ held that high as well. So AMD wants to push through, then we can just go into scout mode, as far as I'm concerned, and just sort of find the next available trade. And I'm gonna pop up my trend lines because that's what we can do at this time of day at 10:18. So silver holds trend, which would be a pain in the butt that I trailed when I saw something in the future, but it doesn't really make a difference. Play this trend line as long as it holds. Looks like it's going to be the way to go on SLV. That includes a potential break. I do not want this breaking trend on me at all. Oh, one more. Everybody, Micron. You've already talked a little bit about Micron.
Yep.
330 and continuing to go. So thank goodness. Well, I don't know if anyone else was looking for this. Remember I said on SNDK, yeah, only play that catch-up trade if it shows that it's breaking the trend.
Yeah.
Because SNDK didn't actually fall with Micron, and now it's up 6.5%. Before you get excited about 6.5%, understand that it's not much off of these highs. And it's still under the 50 period. This is not celebrating that we've made the lows here. This is taking your wins on the long positions and being happy that we caught a bit of a temp bottom. Because if we don't break out this top on the ES, or break that low on USO, it could just be that the trap took longer to set up. We could find ourselves in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. I think, just let me know in the chat what you guys are watching. I got to pull up the chat again here. ONDS Marvell. Yeah, I guess people are long Marvell as well. That 93 looked like it was going to come in, not really coming in right now. So definitely going to be wrong on that one as it pushes right back up into VWAP. Are there sellers here at VWAP is the question that I'm asking. Market
multiple times.
It's held multiple times. That's the thing, right? So the question becomes, is it going to hold this time as well? You can see the market did catch a bit of a green there, and now catching some red coming right back in as well. So let's see if that candle goes red to green or green to red on this here NASDAQ and the ES as well. Again, first red candle in a bit. You can see here on both of these names. See if we can continue to a little bit to the downside here at the same time. And we're getting another retest of this VWAP here on Marvell. So guess what? I'm not going to necessarily make the same mistake I did last time. I do want to get involved here, especially if, again, I'm not going to expect it to flush $1 down like it did last time, but looking for, I guess, more of the same here. Sellers off of the open, sellers once again at 9.55. We'll wait and see if there are also sellers here at 10.20 as we speak here on Marvell. Looking quite nice here. So this is what I'm looking at. Again, I could very well be wrong, and this will just blast through, and that's perfectly fine as well. Moving on to the next trade very easily after that one. But I want to know, what is the next trade for you guys, or what are you guys involved in? AMD to 220 saying trip Q. So I know Neil was involved with a little bit of AMD earlier. 220.
A dollar says that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know if...
Everything is trading places. It's $1. Oh, I thought I had a loonie. I do have a loonie.
220 intraday?
That's not happening, man.
Yeah, no. Maybe like you also have to understand, unless some sort of news comes out, some sort of groundbreaking news comes out on this thing, yeah, I don't know about that 220, just based off of how much it does every day in terms of just the ATR range. It is in a bit of an uptrend, but maybe your time frame is different, right? Maybe you're looking at it from a much higher time frame, and you're looking for that 220 there. I have no idea what your trade plan for that may be. NVIDIA long saying John Disk. Okay, cool. Let's quickly take a look at that one as well. Yeah, NVIDIA, that long has been working out quite nicely from the pre-market high breakout, NVDA. Let's pull up that one right here. Wow, beautiful trend on this one. Again, very similar to that of the markets. So you can see here, pre-market high 168s, pushes up, pulls back in, and then nice consolidation, stair step to the upside, 170.87s as of right now here on NVIDIA. But
enough with the large caps. Let's see what's going on in the small cap world with the Derek.
I'll just repeat the news here in Hims and Hers in case you guys missed it. I mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, but HIMS pushing higher after the New York Times reported that the FDA is going to be lifting a ban on 14 injectable peptides for compounding pharmacies. That'll be, again, reported by the New York Times. If I get more details, I'll let you know. Let's talk here about BURU, our first small cap of the day, a name that's been mentioned before, 17 penny stock. Their Lyocon unit, I guess, securing an initial deployment order valued at roughly $250,000 for a portable directed energy laser dazzler system. Defense play there. HKIT, this one pulling back from its early highs. This is another pretty inexpensive penny stock here right now, trading about 7 cents. This was on our morning watch list. On Friday, they announced the pricing of a direct offering. No news on them today. Last but not least, KIDS is a name that, or KIDZ, sorry, class over, name that I know for a fact has been traded on the midday show and we've talked about before. This company trading higher after regaining compliance with the NASDAQ listing rules. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. As we've said, you back over. More trading action with Obi and Neil.
Oh, bullfrog, bullfrog, bullfrog.
Wow, what a move on that.
Bullfrog,
Crazy.
this one, that one will hurt. It never really did the trend break all day long. Technically, it did it right at the end of the day and then gave you not much of anything because you would have made like 10%. You're looking for probably 20, 30% trades on a dollar stock, typically, because you're usually going to risk a little more than like 1 or 2%. You're going to risk like 5 to 10. Just the nature of price, that's how it works. But today, that break, whether it's the high or it's the break of that consolidation, absolute and utter gold. One thing I'm just tracking right now, because the market's heading right back into the tops. So as the ES gets to 65, if we fail 6,500 on the ES, which is right over here, as we get into that top, I look for what is setting up the best reversal play, because I don't want to punch long at highs of the day. And we wrote a couple of things into the top, and I think at this point, if we break out and get some continuation trades and we can continue trend after we're holding those levels. But if we fail that 65, I got Intel up, topping tail candle here, overhead resistance, still lots of overhead resistance here on Intel to be able to fill that gap in, and then look for it to break the trend line. Got to play it to VWAP and then see if it goes a little bit further. But that's what I'm looking at next. Silver is also threatening to break the trend. Even AMD has made a nice little reversal in here. So they're fine if you have these, like the longs are still going for some of these names. But as we get into resistance on the future, the SPY, I should say, I'm going to start looking for that reverse into VWAP style of trade, specifically over here on Intel. Yeah, that frog is, I don't know if it's going to 3 ECLEM, but the trend is pretty strong in Bullfrog. And when you trade these ones that are a buck, sometimes it is this, I don't want to say it's as simple as get in at 1, get out at 2, hold some for 3, but sometimes these stocks will, they'll have that type of technical energy. Like you'll go back and you'll zoom out and you'll see, okay, well, it holds 50 cents. The breakout's not clean at $1. It's a little closer to that 120 we were just talking about. But then you go from there and say, well, put 50% on that, and that gives you 180. Well, where is this chop at right now? 180. So I think you're going step by step. And then not $2, but it's more like $2.15 to $2.20. So it's right in that range the next bag holding levels are. The 3 would take a lot. But you've seen these stocks do it before. I just feel like you have to take profit. I don't want to say aggressively, but you have to have a notion of where you're going to get profit, because any of these can do an offering at any time, right? Unless you know for a fact they haven't filed for one and therefore could take days and weeks, you're always at risk of an offering, and then your gains can get wiped out and your stop loss can become irrelevant very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's important things to note there. Especially on something like that. When I'm looking at some of the smaller cap names, I'm always looking out for what is a short float, right? You wanna know what the swipe risk can be if there's any sort of potential news that's been moving it around. Again, USO is a great example of that kind of a trade where you get involved with USO. Some news comes out and it just swipes one way or the other, and that's the risk you're putting on when you're trading something like that. But looking at Micron here, it is taking a little bit of a pullback. We got all the way up
to, let's say, did we get up into that anchored yet? Yeah, we did. We did pretty much get up into that anchored, or close enough, I'd say, there at 329. 329.13s is the high there on Micron. And pulling right back into some of these prior levels here. So pre-market highs were sitting at 327, so we're trading below that as well. But now, again, I said I'm not necessarily going to get involved on the first little push, even though that already that's given you about $4 or $5 here. Percent ATR, I have no idea. I got to look into that. But again, starting to slow down here in and around similar places where sellers were dominant yesterday. So that's the piece of information that I'm seeing there with that anchored VWAP. Now the question becomes, are we going to see more of the same, right? Are we going to see more of the same? Are sellers going to step in or continue to step in, or are we just slowing down for a push back up? You can see the market here is pretty strong. Good, clean joy coming in with the super chat. Thank you very much. Good clean joy. That's 10 euros there. So I am up to 3,500 euro today, and rising. Because of BYND. What is your opinion about it? Is it a short squeeze? Is it realistic? You want to?
Well, I'm always the wrong person to ask for positivity on Beyond Me. Squeezes are possible. Companies can go under and have these crazy dead cat bounces. We've seen them before. I just always hesitate to think how far is this really going to go? I can't even lie to you. I saw that it was moving and I'm paying for locates right now. That's just how I roll. Because this stock, even when it goes, it seems to be a reversion maniac. Like if you let's pull up a 60 minutes so you can see as many of these as possible. And show me, stop me when you have continuation on any one of these spikes. Intraday spike, fade. Intraday spike, fade. Every one of these has had a fade. It's just a matter of how far it goes before it does. These are intraday fades. I can't find a time in the last month or two where this has gone more than one day in a row. Adara?
They report tonight.
Yeah, well.
I think that's worth noting. Conference call at 5 p.m. And I know they're always super wishy-washy if they're reporting or not. This is on their website. They announced this, so they could be reporting tonight.
I mean, they could always report that someone wants to buy them. That would be good. I'm struggling I don't know. Look at their earnings are tonight, so if they can hold on to gains today, and then you have anything positive out of the earnings, it's so badly beaten up that can give you a continuation. I just look at it as something that hasn't had continuation for more than the one move you get out of it intraday. That's been the history of the stock. So never what anybody wants to hear. It's just when you zoom it out, it kind of speaks for itself. Yeah. If I'm being real about it. Oops! I got to hit confirm. It always does. At real trading, it asks you if you want to buy locates. If you say yes, and it's like, are you sure? Because you're paying.
Yeah, there's always a second confirmation. Yeah.
The number of times that I think that I've hit the confirmation and I don't, and then I go to punch short, and it's like, oh, that's right, I didn't hit confirm. Are you sure? It's a good feature. That's exactly how you should do it. I muck it up sometimes. So we still haven't broken ES 6500. The NASDAQ hasn't made the fresh high. I'm just waiting for either we push through that, or I'm going to get, if we don't, then I'm looking for the trend break here, specifically on Intel. AMD is still going, but you still have that hold of the 200, the fail of the 201.5, and it's got a bit of a topping tail candle here as well. This is where we dumped off midday. The heavy drop in AMD corresponds with Friday's close levels, and then look at where we just put in a topping tail candle on AMD there. It's hard for me to be in love with this. If you got the longs early, great. I mean, you got a bigger run. I always had this mentality of, I don't change where I think it can get to just because of where I got in. Just because this entry here, if you got it clean, that's it holding 96, 97. This is a holding VWAP. If you get in clean here, yeah, it happens to be $3. But to me, this is still the top-ish area that I want to respect. So just because you only get $1, because you join the move $1.50 late, does not mean that I want to extend how far I think it's going to go. So if we don't break 65,000, my next trade, I think is going to be a short.
Yeah, I think we have to wait for some of these highs to come in, but it is kind of flagging at those highs there. It's definitely trying to push up a little bit higher here. Micron pulling right back up into 328s as well. Marvell got all the way back up to 95, so oh boy, definitely going to be watching it a lot closer here. I've been kind of dabbling, taking ads into this as it kind of does its thing below VWAP, but now we're above VWAP, 95 holds. So if it holds with any sort of distinction, then I definitely don't want to stick around very long, especially with a market that is this aggressively strong. I guess I'm kind of holding on to this swipe that happened here from 95s all the way down to 93 halves, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's definitely some sellers, and maybe potentially hanging on to the idea that, yeah, there may be some aggressive sellers in that 95 area, but I could very well be wrong. More than willing to be wrong in and around here on Marvell. But yeah, let me know in the chat, what are you guys trading? What are you guys up to at the same time? Let's take a look at some other stocks at the same time. So I'm looking at Micron and Marvell. Those are my main ones for today. That's what I kind of planned when I came in. Micron still hasn't really done what I'm looking for just yet. It's coming in, it's starting to slow down in and around this 330 area, but you can see with a strong market and an aggressive sell-off yesterday, that day two may be a little bit crowded, but the bounce has been quite nice, if I do say so myself, on Micron. All the way back up to the anchored VWAP, right? We're looking at the anchored VWAP around 332s in the pre-market, and then 330s as of right now, just shy of 330s, 329s and some change on Micron. So that's the only thing that I'm looking at. Chris Onion saying HIMS and ONDS. Okay, cool. Let's take a quick look at HIMS and ONDS here. ONDS, let's see. Boom, boom. Okay, cool, nice. Decent push. Is this doing some relative volume? Yeah, I guess kind of in the pre-market. It was doing a little bit of volume there, breaking past or opening range highs as of right now over the past, I'd say, like 10, 15 minutes or so on ONDS. HIMS, we heard that there was some potential news there on this one. Strong trend, again, alongside with the rest of the market here. Roger Noonan saying TQ's long. We know that's definitely working. Look at that right there. So a bit of a wick of that prior high there on the Qs, on the TQs. $40 holding as a bit of an area as of right now. What's going on, Adara?
I have some oil news for you guys. State media in Iran reporting that the IRGC, or the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, saying that they will be attacking U.S. companies in the region as of April 1st, so tomorrow, in retaliation for attacks on Iran. So more tensions coming tomorrow, as reportedly promised by Iran. Back to you.
Thanks, Adara. And as was pointed out in our chat, I have HIMS at a 45% short float, which obviously is rather, you get anytime you get over 40%, that gets a little bit hefty. The other thing, and we were talking about this earlier with Nick W in our chat, and shout out to Nick and appreciate him there for sure, specifically about trend lines down being broken. HIMS is up 5% and has not broken this down trend line. I know I could draw it a little bit better, but I'm more looking at this tighter consolidation as opposed to like a single candle. It would have to get well above the $20 level to break this trend on the daily to the downside. So yeah, it's making a move, but there would, in theory, be some room for it to go a little bit more. And shout out to all of our viewers. We have some viewers on TikTok that are all about bullfrog, so HVAC Pro and over there on TikTok, and viewers anywhere we are. You could be on TikTok, watching us on YouTube here, or it could be on Twitch. We're everywhere that we need to be, and if we're not somewhere that you want us to be, then we'll try to make it happen. I mean, I sit here and make all the promises in the world, but we do make an effort to try to make sure we can get our the good message to everybody out there. Okay, so no break of the highs again. The ES and the NASDAQ both rejected the top, which is why I still feel like it's going to be, for myself, the next trade is short. Intel is now cresting and trying to break the trend line. I'm trying to be as patient about it as possible and not entering just yet, but it looks like we are pulling a little bit back. I don't know I haven't checked Marvell, but a few names that we haven't mentioned today that I wanted for everybody. Tesla finally broke 365, but it's now threatening. If you consider that the resistance high, then I would draw the trend line this way because it made the top in here. And then this is the real test of the high where it actually put a big reversal on, and that's where we got the big bounce. So for Tesla, it's starting to look like it's attempting to break that trend. NVIDIA, always of interest. Today, very strong, up 3 points. I mean, stronger than AMD, NVIDIA is. Eventually it had to make sense. I never understood why AMD was ever stronger on any day when NVIDIA is showing you a sub 20 forward PE. But it just goes to show fundamentals don't always matter. In the market, especially when you're looking at day trading. Why is Intel so good at holding this trend line? I don't believe you.
Intel's pretty technically sound most of the times. I do like the way Intel does like kind of wick action on the day where it comes in. Like the liquidity grabs on Intel are pretty beautiful sometimes.
I tend to agree with you. Like when you get, yesterday you can't find an example of it because it was just trash. Like the trend down, it's hard to find those wicks. But there have been a few in the past, and it is holding technically really well. I think that's why people like to trade it to a certain extent. Whoa, there goes USO upside.
Ew.
Oh,
That's
USO's going, USO is breaking, it's at VWAP now. If this breaks through, I don't want to chase, I don't want to be too early to this move. I might nibble, if I see this close above VWAP, I might nibble on the trend line here, thinking oil up, and we're going to head to the downside. So I believe like that's going to be the case. Oh, well, we have a Dara right now for some news, and it's also time for Sector Watch.
Oh. Yep. So there's a couple different things here. I'm just seeing apparently the IRGC, again, Revolutionary Guard of Iran, reportedly issuing a warning against 18 American tech companies, which include Microsoft, Apple, Google, Intel, and Boeing, stating that they'll be considered legitimate targets in response to terrorist operations, in their words, carried out by the U.S. and Israel. So again, this is just a report. I'm seeing this on X. Make of it what you will. A huge, huge caveat, as always, with a lot of this news, because a lot of it's back and forth and difficult to attribute and cite and prove. But either way, here reports that tech companies, which include Boeing, Intel, Google, Apple, Microsoft, could be targets here, or in the words of Iran, legitimate targets of the Iranian regime. If I get more details and if I get anything proving or disproving this, I'll let you know. But again, the earlier thing that I mentioned here is Iran basically saying, hey, on April 1st, it's going down U.S. for these U.S. companies here within Iran. So just be aware of that. Lots of U.S. companies being targeted now, reportedly. Very likely the reason for the move up in oil. Iran also reporting that there was an explosion heard in the Bushehr area on Tuesday afternoon. I had seen reports earlier suggesting an explosion in Bushehr. So unfortunately, it's just more geopolitical tensions happening here. Let's talk about this sector watch here. Producer manufacturing green, health tech green, Eli Lilly up 3%. Consumer durables looking really good, non-energy minerals good. Retail trade has some strength. Amazon doing quite well today. Tech services to the upside, electronic tech to the upside, though Dell down here about 2.5%. Now, in terms of weakness, there are fewer weaker sectors, but they certainly do exist. Consumer non-durables is pretty right across the board, with the exception of Nike, up nearly 2%, heading into its earnings report. Utilities, it's going to be quite right across the board with CEG, Constellation. This is like an AI data center adjacent play. They're down 8% today. Communications right as well. Back to you.
Yeah, so obviously,
Thank you very much.
I don't want to get political, but, well, targeting U.S. companies is not going to end well for Iran. That being said, any escalation is escalation. Yeah. Ultimately, however it works out in the long run, escalation makes, it just makes everything draw out a little bit longer or much longer. We have no idea how long, and you're seeing that reflected in USO right now. We're bursting through the volume weighted average price. That downtrend that we had is looking to potentially break. I wouldn't say that it is broken yet. If you go back to 7 o'clock when we made those highs, and then you sort of look at the open as a lower high, which I think, because the open is a more important moment, then you're only technically breaking it now. I did do that whole break the rule nibble on the trend line because I saw USO go, but Intel is really respecting this trend line. Makes me really like it if it breaks it, but it technically did not. It just broke this prior bar and I jumped in. I know it'd be a worse price if I get in here after it breaks, but sometimes that's part of the trade, is to have the confirmation and get that worse price, and you really shouldn't mind it at all. And then I look over at Apple and some of the other names, like Apple's through VWAP and heading lower. Meta is holding on to the line, just barely above the volume weighted average price, but just holding on to some support here. I think we'd already talked about Microsoft. Amazon, which is, I mean, Amazon was a beast. I mean, a lot of things were beastly this morning. This is losing the volume weighted average price as we speak. NVIDIA, just going across the board, topping tail candle, stronger than most of everything else. But if you do this from the open, you could easily just do this. You could put it doesn't matter. You could put it from the breakout or you could put it from the open. Either way, you're breaking the trend line to the upside here on NVIDIA as well. So it's not looking incredibly good. USO might be tanking us one more time. Throw up this son of Daniel Cheese Tycoon super chat. Just so that there's no confusion, Iran has not threatened Stolen Cheese Dispenser Incorporated, so no reason to sell your shares. Okay, first of all, Daniel, I would never sell my shares in Stolen Cheese Dispenser Incorporated. I'm a hodl kind of guy when it comes to that, and I fully expect that we're going to the moon with this fictional company.
Nice.
Or, well, I mean, for those viewers that are, if you can't tell that Stolen Cheese Dispenser Inc. is an inside joke, then
Okay.
I've got some magic beans that I would like to sell you.
Ooh.
Actually, better than that. I'm gonna do a SPAC, and we're gonna find a combination in a magic bean company, just so we can take it to another level. And on top of that, we're gonna come up with a solid state battery, quantum computing, and what else ridiculousness?
Smells a lot like
part of this
Churchill.
stack, because I think that would help with the ridiculousness.
Oh, I tried to get Chamath in on this SPAC, and he said that's too risky for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's changed the game now. I think he's investing a little bit more in podcasts than in SPACs now. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
I've said this before. People can say whatever they want about Chamath. It's just weird to me that of all the SPACs that have come out this year, not ones with a combination, the ones where you just get your $10, of all the SPACs that came out, the one that I saw that was performing the best on return is easily his. So people are still betting with their dollars. Somebody's betting with their dollars that they like his newest SPAC that came out a couple of months ago.
They've done well.
It came out at 10 and was trading at like 11.50 or something. It had like a 10-15% return pre-combination. Every other SPAC that I've looked at it this year is within, it's like 9.90 or 10.05 or 10.15. His is sitting at like 11.30 or something. And if I cared enough to remember the name of it, I'd pull it up. But I literally have to ask Gemini or Claude because I don't remember.
See which one it is? Yeah.
No, because whatever. I looked at it that day and I looked at it a couple times after, but I'm not going to buy it, so I didn't bother memorizing they have these weird symbol names, and none of them are very memorable. It's like blah, 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 acquisition, something. No, but seriously, they have like the worst names.
I mean, what was wasn't a lot of his stuff was the Churchill, right? Churchill Capital or. Yeah,
I want to say
I don't remember. No, I know, but I'm talking about historically. Historically, his stuff has done pretty okay.
Spies and VWAP.
But yeah, a bit of a pullback here, breaking this, I guess, consolidation that we were holding. Where's my mouse? Okay, there it is. So breaking this consolidation to the low right there, and then on some of that, I guess, USO news at the same time. I don't have USO up. I got to make sure I have USO up here. 129, so back up into some of those levels. But I'm going to continue asking the same question here, Neil. A good place to sell right there. 29 halves, 29 halves, 29 halves. We're making a beeline right there once again. Excuse me, up into 129.40s. So that was in and around that opening range high as well here on USO. So going to keep a close eye on this one, see what it does in that area, if it'll potentially come in or not. Marvell, back below this VWAP right now. We try to get above and hold above 95s, but a bit of a struggle here on that one. Pulling back in, 23 halves, struggling to hold some of these levels, but we'll see. You know, it's not always just a straight line on the chart. It's more of an area. We'll see if this area continues to hold here. If oil gets back up into that 29, where we've seen some supply in the pre-market session and off of the open, and it gives us more of the same, then yeah, maybe we do hold some of these levels and just chop around sideways. I have no idea. I'm always going through like different iterations in my head. I'm like, if this happens, then maybe I want to look for this. If that happens, then I want to look for this. This has been happening, so we'll wait and see if it continues to happen as well.
Yeah, just a lot of if-thens. Sometimes I'm just speaking my mind and speaking some of those iterations here. This is Micron on the left-hand side. Yeah, that's consolidating underneath this 330. So I do have close eyes on this one, Neil.
Yeah, and well, I can tell you that this USO is it's holding the line here. The reverse of trend is getting a little bit more distinct. So, like, as far as I was concerned, it didn't mean that we couldn't have gone. To be honest with you, I feel like if we didn't have any headlines and USO didn't make this break, then you probably continue holding this trend. But it did. It continued higher, so I added at a worse price. I told you that was going to happen. I knew I was going to add at a worse price when there was a confirmation, but I'm playing Intel into VWAP here. The ES is doing a little bit of a catch back into VWAP. And yeah, we've broken the pre-market trend line. Remember, though, that Boyle, this is spicy. It's at VWAP. Boyle went ham this morning. I don't know why, to be real with you. We couldn't really find anything specifically, but this is still holding back into VWAP. If the trend is back up, and this can be a simple trend from the high, breakout into the long on nat gas here, and we can continue going on USO, this could be a way to play a catch-up in the other direction. So I'm going to keep this up. If we can hold, forget about VWAP, maybe even just holding 1645 right underneath, and then break out this trend to the upside. I might like some Boyle in here, but for now, it's just about the retracement on Intel for myself. Nick Dove, we got another super chat. Could you talk about your initiating a position off trend breaks versus waiting for them to retrace the trend line? Waiting for them to retrace the trend line after breakdown to initiate. If I'm following this one.
So when it breaks trend and then pops back in, holds that from the other side.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I wish I could find am I going to be able to find an example of that? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find an example of the second thing. The first one's pretty simple. Like, once you've established the trend line, I know I broke a rule here. This is technically the break happens over here on either one of these two candles, and then the playback into VWAP. You're thinking about if it breaks trend, pops back up, and then the trend line becomes resistance. Yep. I know where I can find it. I can't find it on a 3. Bitcoin on a daily chart. Bitcoin on a daily chart has this. That's a 15-minute. I know for sure, because this is why I've been bearish on Bitcoin. So here's your trend line break on Bitcoin. This is the break. It bounces back, trend line resistance, and dump fest. And then we do it again here. It hasn't really dumped off this move. This is why I cannot be bullish on Bitcoin. Break of the other trend line. I got to reset this chart. What is going on, TradingView? Oh, it's because of the volume. My bad. But then it breaks this trend line, holds under, the trend line support turns into resistance, and then you look for a dump. That's the primary reason. I agree with you, Nick. This is exactly why I'm not bullish on Bitcoin anytime it makes a bounce. Because every time we've broken that downward trend line, that is turned into resistance. And you've been a fool if you've been tricked by it. It has to break back above that trend. So I like both of those. I just find for the day trade, I often use the trend line break more than anything else. And then the retrace, because by the time it retraces, I don't know, I find like I'm already into it. It might be a reload spot, but I'm usually into it here, and then I might reload it if I can get something that still makes sense. I just kind of hope that it never gets there, because then I'm giving up some gains. Adara?
Money talks time, guys. Again, if I get anything geopolitical, I will let you know right away. I want to talk here about this US dollar, though. DXY red today and actually giving up, looks like pretty much the entire move to the upside yesterday. We opened today's candle here around 100.58, high of 100.64. Right now, just holding on to that 100 level. And because it's the end of the quarter, let's take a look at this 3-month chart here for the US dollar. Now, I wasn't necessarily expecting this. The last 3 quarters, the US dollar has been green. So we were, of course, very red on 2025. I think that's just because of the massive selling we had Q1 and Q2. But looks like, as of right now, Q1 2026, looking to be the DXY's 3rd straight green quarter. Let's talk about some of this economic data that the market digested earlier today. Chicago PMI going to be notably lower than expected. Consumer confidence for March 2026 higher than expected, though there still are some inflation concerns, which we'll get to in a minute. Jewel stop openings is going to be lower than expected, and the prior print actually revised to the upside, whereas JOLTS job quits coming in, again, just a little bit lower than what we were expecting. Now, yesterday we had a lot of Fed's comments. A lot of these Feds were a little bit more cautious, kind of wait and see, and one of those Feds was Fed's Myron, who was, of course, very, very dovish. But yeah, guys, like as of yesterday, we were seeing no less than 80% chance that rates were going to be held steady from April to December. Now, for the December meeting, we're actually seeing 71% chance that rates are going to be held steady. So slight improvement from the 80% or so chance they were going to be held steady yesterday. It's slow and steady. We'll have to see what we get here coming forward in these months. But again, the next Fed meeting is going to be just under a month from now, April 29th. Back to you.
Oh boy. Bless you, Adara. Well, it's not, the market isn't red. So that's kind of not
yet.
true.
Not yet.
But not yet.
It's getting there.
Obi just said not yet.
Not yet.
No, but Bitcoin's about to be red on the day. Oh, it's 24-hour market. I get it. Bitcoin isn't technically red. I know. We hear it before, but it is going past where it was at the close. This is USO, unabated to the quarterback. Yeah, it looked like for a moment we were going down, but really when you zoom it out, this just looks like a consolidation and then a potential break higher. So for now, it looks like you had to, if you scalped and made sure that you made something on the longs when there was a potential reversal, we're back into a short market, so.
Oh, yeah. It's a trap.
You know what, it basically, the market right now, when it makes an upward move, it's essentially like every single time that Disney comes out with something new with regards to Star Wars. Now, I'm a homer. I love Star Wars, so I get psyched about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, the Acolyte's coming out. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic. They're gonna get this one right. Forget about what people are saying online. I'm gonna love this because I love Star Wars. And then I watch it, and then it's the same disappointment. That's these upward moves. Like you get excited, you start getting that trend. You're like, okay, the SPY is going up, and AMD is going, and Bitcoin is going, and NVIDIA is going, and everything is. Then you just come back into the reality. The reality that this market is what we thought it was. They are who we thought they were. You don't know that line.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, there was a famous NFL, well, I don't know how famous he is, but it was an NFL coach who, he just kept saying that over and over again with a few explanations.
Oh, okay.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And we let them off the hook. Dennis Green.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't know that reference there, but
I'll
market.
I'll give you a clip.
The market is coming back into its reference price of the open here, as we pull right back in to some of those opening range prices here. So yeah, that bid is given up, and sellers talk about selling the pops. We talked about selling the pops this morning, and hopefully. Hopefully some people are selling the pops. Definitely, I didn't partake in too much of selling pops or selling too much at the pops. I, moreover, was participating in selling the sideways consolidation here on Marvell, but we'll see if it'll be a marvelous breakdown of the opening range or the morning session lows there at 93.08. VWAP sellers coming in once again. So that's kind of what I was looking for there. It did take some shots, some more ads there in and around VWAP, kind of piecing into it there. But we'll wait and see if it comes into that opening range low. You can see the market's heavily red here. We talked about USO as well. These were kind of, is it more of the same? Is it more of the same? Absolutely not. We're kind of breaking out of this level as well. So that's another trade. If you're looking to take 50 pennies off on something like USO, the break of the opening range high, 29.5s, 129.5s, does not look back, gives you 130s right away. Pre-market sellers came in at 131s. Again, you got to be watching crude oil futures if you're going to be trading this one as well, because that's pretty much the underlying vehicle or underlying asset that USO is kind of basing itself off of. So we'll wait and see. Nice short on Intel. Beautiful scalp there, man.
Well,
trend line break.
I think the market's hungry for some lows right now. And I'm going to try to give a few code words because I don't have the button for the thing we're going to go into right now. So hopefully
I don't think I do
those
either.
code words to Andre will give a hint that I'm looking at what we might be eating in a little bit.
So
and
we'll
first, I'll get this out of the way. The menu was Oh, we don't have the button for it.
Okay.
I don't know if Joe. I don't have the button. It's on. It's actually on Sean's stream deck and not on mine.
Yeah, I can't pull. I don't.
So we'll talk about what's for lunch without hitting the button. I'll pretend that I hit the button, and then something comes and says do what's for lunch. It was dead wrong yesterday. I don't know. It said we were supposed to have grilled salmon. Everybody else got the grilled salmon, which was fine. Apparently it was pretty good. But those on the salad lunch, sometimes we get the same thing. The salad lunch, we got boring chicken. So today, I don't know if we're going to get on the salad lunch what everyone else gets. What I can tell you is we've got a Korean flag.
Oh.
We got a Korean flag, and if I butcher this, I apologize. Gochujang glazed pork, baby bok choy and seasonal vegetables, sweet potato glass noodles, and a mixed green salad.
I like those glass noodles.
So, I'm gonna say that sounds like a banger.
Let's go.
But there's a decent chance if they do what they did yesterday, I'm eating a boring salad with a bunch of just grilled chicken cut up, that's fine. It's just not what everyone else gets to roll. Why do you gotta hit that? I signed up for the salad lunch, and you know that you don't get I could get the main lunch if I wanted to, but a bunch of us get the salad lunch. It's nice and it's healthy. It's just sometimes it's not as tasty as the other things. And
oh yeah,
Andre is saying that I can grab Sharif's as well if I want, because apparently his will be here, even though when people book off, they're supposed to not have their lunch delivered.
I don't think
That's why we put it into the system so that we don't waste food. But that being said, look, we're at VWAP. I'm going to trail out of this at the volume weighted average price. If we hold it, this is always the plan of action. If it cannot break, I'll give it just a little bit below break even to give it a little bit of room. But if it comes back up and retests the top of the trend line while that's simultaneously the highs, then I will jump out of that bad boy. Jump back into this bad boy. Less than 1 minute to go. John in the chat says, get the lobster rolls. If our caterer ever gives us lobster rolls, first off, you will probably see the biggest smile on my face. Second, then after that smile, I'll probably be a little bit skeptical.
Yeah.
If a caterer for it would just be weird. I don't think they would. I don't know if I'd trust it.
I don't know.
There's certain things I just would not expect.
Trust issues.
And the other thing you should watch throughout the midday, we're going to pop over to Joe in just a quick little bit. Sharif, will he be enjoying his vacation? But this is still all green on USO. We're pressing, since this trend break, we have one tiny red candle. We're very much trending up. I'd watch out for any signal of a trend break to give you a bit of a dip. That can give you a reprieve if you're looking for some long, but if that doesn't happen, it feels like a hold on to your shorts kind of situation, Adair.
Yeah, apologies if this was mentioned. I just wanted a quick little walk there. But Snapchat pushing sharply higher. Bloomberg reporting that activist investor Irenic built a stake in Snapchat, and they're pushing pushing for changes at the company. So again, SNAP activist investment. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adair. It is 11 o'clock, so because Sharif is off, Obi's going to actually switch on over. Sean just had a morning appointment. He'll be back in the afternoon with myself, and we'll be back in 2. Well, the bull got knocked over by the force, if we're being honest about it.
Yeah,
the force of the market heading to the downside. Although we are getting a turnaround at 130 on USO right now. I know, because I just trailed out of my short at the moment that was happening, which I think made sense, right? You set your trails, we slow down, we accelerate back, re-engage shorts if we bounce off VWAP. That'll be the plan of action for myself. Joey options, I know for sure, actually I don't know for sure, but I'm going to make a strong guess. You had to be looking at IBIT today. We'll find out in a quick little second. It'll be Joe and Obi. I'll be back in 2 with Sean, and we'll hopefully enjoy some glazed pork with baby bok choy and seasoned vegetables. That sounds delicious to me. Firing off for the midday. Thank you guys for a fun morning.
See you guys soon.
Welcome, everyone. You know who it is. It's your boy Joey Options, and joining me momentarily as he does a quick transfer of desks will be Obi, the only one Kenobi. I hope everyone's had a fantastic day. And with that being said, you guys already know what time it is.